think it's more information that allows us to make more informed decisions. And even though the regulatory areas may not be biological, we still do divide the TCEY amongst them. So we need some sort of information, and there's nothing to say that we need to follow it exactly, but we need some indication on how to do that. So I appreciate the motion. We'll be supporting it. Thank you.
Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that more information is always better, and how we divide up the TCY is still disputed amongst areas, and so really the removal of this information, I think, is more harmful because it does bias. It biases the concept that we don't use this information. Having the information allows everybody to make informed decisions.
Okay, thank you. Anybody online with comments? Okay, all right. Any other questions, comments? Ready to vote? Ready to vote on this motion? Okay, call for the vote.
Safer votes yes.
Thanks, Kathy. Jerry, you want to give us your vote?
This is Jerry Christensen. I'm voting against the motion.
Thank you. We're missing Deep Sea Fishermen's Union vote. Are they out of the room? They there? Okay, did you vote? Oh, showed up, thanks. Okay, that's everybody? Okay, close.
Few missing, but it's all right there.
They're not paying attention, yeah. Okay, all right, we'll close the vote. Okay, we have the results. No passes on the US side, fails Canada. Okay, ready to move on? Any other motions before we go to regulatory proposals? All right, I think we're ready to move to that. So we can put the regulatory proposals on the screen. Hopefully everybody knows where to find them.
Do you want me to make an introduction?
Yes, please. And go ahead, Pasha.
Okay, So moving to section on regulatory proposals, we have as every year, three types of proposals: Secretariat's proposal, contracting parties proposals, and the stakeholders proposal. We'll start with Secretariat's proposals. We did have A1 and A2 proposals that are standard IPHC proposals that are only a frameworks for introducing mortality and fishery limits and commercial fishing periods. So on this, you don't need to vote. This is just a framework. You already made your recommendations related to mortality and fishery limits as well as fishing periods. So on this, we can, if it's all right, the conference board just may recommend that the framework is acceptable, and we can move to the next section.
Okay, great. Let's move to the next one. Or unless anybody has a comment on the framework, I think we're good. Go ahead.
Moving to a contracting parties proposal, the proposal B1 is a framework for charter management measures. So this is a framework based on Charter Management Committee recommendations and the North Pacific Fisheries Management Council decision that was submitted to the IPHC by NOAA Fisheries. And again, this is just a framework that will guide how the charter management measures are designed based on the actual commission's decision on the mortality and fishery limits. So on that, I pass to you. You may, yes.
We have a motion on,
Yeah, I'll make a motion to accept the regulatory proposals coming out of Alaska areas for charter management in areas 2C and 3A.
the second to that.
Second.
Want to speak to that at all for us?
Yeah, this is a simplified annual process. The discussion and dialogue really happens in charter halibut management committee meetings, who make a recommendation to the council, and then the council approves it and forwards it to the IPHC. So a lot of the comments and thought processes have already taken place. I will, for the record, recognize that the discussion surrounded I'm going to use the word plight in the recreational fishery and how it reacts to low abundance and low allocations. But in the end, we have to produce something, some type of tiered harvest measure, not really knowing what's going to happen at this meeting. And so everybody did their best to come up with something that was workable. And so that's the history.
Anyone else? Any or you probably Canada wants to abstain on these. So, okay, so should we vote? I guess we
don't need to if
Okay.
there's
All right.
unanimous on each side.
Yeah, let's try this. How about noting that Canada will abstain on this vote? Can we get a vote? Is there any objection to this action from the US? Awesome. Okay. So noted that passes. Thank you, Forrest, for moving that one ahead. Okay, next one is to go ahead.
Thank you. So the next regulatory proposal is a contracting party proposal from Canada, and this is to propose a daily back limit of up to 3 fish per day per person in recreational fishery in IPHC regulatory area 2B, beginning on or after 1st of August each year, depending where the fishery is in terms of attainment of its allocation for the recreational sector. And I will note that this flexibility in section 27(1)(c) in the IPHC fisheries regulation was already in effect for 3 years, but this was set to expire through 2025 unless extended by a vote of the commission. So Canada submitted a proposal to introduce that flexibility into the IPHC regulations without that time limit. I'm happy to take any questions, but yeah, this is the flexibility of the change from 2 fish to 3 fish after 1st of August. Correct. It's not mandatory. It depends where the fishery is in terms of attainment of its limit, and it has not been used.
Has not been used.
It's not been used
in a couple of years. It
for
was
some
used
years.
A couple of years ago.
Yes, it was used a couple of years
Thanks.
ago,
I
but
was just
not
gonna ask
2025, for example.
Okay, anyone have a motion on this proposal?
A motion, yeah, I'd like to move that it be continued, that this this proposal be extended beyond its current end, which I guess is 2025.
So your motion is recommend that this proposal be adopted
Yes.
and that would extend this opportunity and it would extend it indefinitely. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And is there a second to that motion? Thank you. Do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, if I may. Yeah, I think it's, while this seems to be sort of an effort or looks on the face of it that, well, look, we want to basically increase our ability to have a larger bag limit, which of course that is the outcome. But there are a couple of important notes here that are worth touching on. One, within the terms of this proposal is that it can only be implemented as of August 1st. And there's no sort of likelihood of ever returning to this to say we want to have this from the beginning of the season or to be throughout the season. This is partially due to the fact that the recreational fishery in 2B in Canada is tracks catch through the season and adjusts limits, not so much possession limits at this current time. However, this would help with that through the season based on catch estimates that are tracked monthly. So one of the challenges our fishery finds now is that with lower TACs, we are required to adjust our size and daily bag limits to help mitigate the rate of harvest. It's our aim for the recreational fishery, which is not stratified. There's just one recreational fishery in Canada, to leave the season open for the longest period of time and for the greatest, for the entirety of the coast and for the entire time of the coast. So what this proposal is really aimed at, because another important detail is that the recreational fishery in Canada does not have an underage provision. We are not allowed to carry any underage forward. However, if there is an overage, our fishery is shut. So we would have discussions through the season, and if it appears that we're going to be coming to an obvious over harvest, our fishery is closed. This has happened as recently as 2 years ago. And this year, we find ourselves in a scenario where we make a conservative, precautionary proposal for size and limit. And we ended up coming to the end of this season with a considerable underage. We're not allowed to do anything with that. So with this proposal enshrined, we would be able to potentially change the bag limit to 3 per day from August 1st or September 1st, whatever the case may be. And this would be not a marketing advantage or intended to benefit the service providers, guides, charters, that sort of thing, but really to the benefit of the residents of British Columbia and have an opportunity that they may not ordinarily have and have a chance at addressing some of that underage. So it really is just an opportunity for the recreational fishery to be able to use an underage should that scenario unfold. That's where it is.
Thank you for that explanation. Any questions from our own? Go ahead, Forrest.
Could you just summarize the changes? Is it just the indefinite part that you're changing, or were there other parts? I got lost there on dates.
We're just saying to have this option enshrined indefinitely, to be allowed to do that from August 1st when the circumstances permitted, to be able to have that three-day bag limit. And it is worth noting that this is not something that we could predetermine at the beginning of a given season. So we couldn't, this coming year say, okay, on August 1st, we're going to turn to 3. We just simply can't do that because we are tracking our catch through the season, year to year. And invariably, we have to make adjustments, as I say, to try to ensure that the season lasts for as long as possible and not go over. And if we are faced with we've made a conservative choice and we end up with considerable underage, this is an opportunity to try to, to allow for resident anglers particularly to take advantage of that.
See, let me go to Chris and then back to you, Forrest. It looked like you had another
Follow-up
question.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to support the motion. Canada's recreational halibut fishery is actively managed. The fishery has a percentage allocation that translates into a poundage each year, and the sector is held to that catch limit each year. There's in-season monitoring of the fishery and the catch levels, and the fishery, as was alluded to, is and has been closed when that catch limit is being approached or exceeded. There have been instances where the decision was made because they felt it was close enough, they would close it. And I have to give credit to the leaders in the recreational sector. They don't like to see their fishery closed, but they have always stood by the decision and explained it to their constituents and explained that you have to put the resource first. The other thing is there, as was said, there's a catch overage provision in place. So if they do exceed their limit, that poundage is deducted from their allocation in the following year. So the resource is paid back. It might be over 2 years, but the resource is always paid back. So I will be voting in favor of this motion. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Any other questions, comments? Go ahead, Brian.
Thank you. I guess just point of clarification, I'm wondering if this is, this would only follow for the 2026 season. Last year when we made, this motion was made and passed, I guess it was just for 2025 season. I'm wondering if this is just for the 2026 season or if this is codifying something a little bit longer.
Yeah, no, the intent here is to have it be available as a potential option in perpetuity.
That was part of the motion, that it had been temporary. This would make it a permanent opportunity to adjust that bag limit to 3 as August 1st. Any other questions, comments? Forrest?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. My follow-up question on that is, originally when this came up, we were told that you had an inability to adjust in season, and that's old information, and so I'm not quite clear. I think our response at the time is, well, why don't you just increase the size limits? If you're going to publish a change in regulation and say we're going to go from 2 to 3 at this point, why can't you just publish a regulation that says we're going to increase our size limits on the 2 unders or the 1 over?
There are some limitations on what we can change and what can be varied in a license year, and one of them is size. So we determine a size at the beginning of the season. Regulatory changes are sort of afoot in some regards, and the ability to vary the daily limit and the possession limit are being sort of worked on and considered so that those can be varied in season, but size is not one of the elements that can be varied after the season begins.
Go ahead, Brian.
Thank you. I guess my question is, you said that the intent of this wasn't to provide a competitive advantage to Canadian recreational fisheries over US fisheries. But I'm wondering if we're codifying this is a conversation that we really need to have. In the scenario that we did see higher allocations, coast-wise, I think we've made it clear on the US side that we don't agree that the share in the resource right now is equitable. But if in the future, if we did see higher allocations and you had a longer period of time where there were 3 fish, do you think that there would be, to me, in my head, I'm thinking that does represent a competitive advantage and would not fit the intent that you're saying here. So I'm wondering if you could kind of walk me through why we would codify something in perpetuity when the intent is for something different.
So the magnitude of change in order to be in a situation where you could potentially say, oh, well, the way things are going here, we could at the beginning of the season anticipate that we would have an opportunity to move to a 3-bag limit is pretty quite significant, because our first motivation would be to allow for a larger. Currently, we're at one fish, and a fairly small one at that, as the daily and possession limit, and that's very talking about a marketing disadvantage. Like, it's a very challenging situation for the recreational fishery, and like I say, for residents, it also has an impact. So in a scenario where we're all talking about better times and greater tax from year to year, the first change in the recreational fishery would be to in trying to sort of a daily bag limit of 2 and increase the size available. And so getting to that 3 daily bag limit is just so far down the road. And honestly, like I say, August 1st is the only time we'd ever be even considering it. And so if you've already said, okay, well, look, we can have 2 fish, and we can have, a slightly bigger fish or bigger fish, as the case may be, then the likelihood of then being able to switch to 3 is not a threat, or probably not an opportunity. So it really is not intended to be something of any kind of marketing advantage. It really is intended to be focused on those recreational anglers that can get out August or likely September or later in the season, and potentially harvest an additional 1 or 2 halibut.
Forrest.
I'm having trouble being supportive of this motion as it's written. I'm not comfortable with indefinite. I think when we first took this up, the charter fleet on our side was, after long thought that September 5th was a reasonable date. And then I think the commissioners moved it to the 15th, and now we're on the 1st. I'm seeing creep in the date. I'm not comfortable that, if we do something indefinitely, that there won't be creep in other areas. And I can't fully wrap my head around why you could change a regulation from 2 to 3 late in the season, and you couldn't do it by, size or some other means, and keep it in the context of a long-standing 2-fish limit. If you care to address those with changes in your motion, we would maybe consider it. I'm sympathetic to where you're at, with the caveat that we do struggle with the allocative indifferences and equities, but in concept, it doesn't, we don't want to tie your hands for resident access, but I won't be supporting the motion as written. And excuse me, I don't think indefinite sounds good. We could consider another sunset with a little bit longer period than annually, possibly, but as is, I'd have a hard time supporting it. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Forrest. Just in response, again, we have some constraints for sure of what we can change and what we can vary in season. And so that this reflects that to a certain degree. And as I say, because we are monitoring in season month to month, that in actual fact, this is a Canadian proposal, so I would not be in a position to accept, consider a change to this proposal. So I won't touch that, but I will point out that the likelihood of an August 1st change in this current environment, and frankly, even way down the road with a very, very different tack, is very, very unlikely, because in order to do that, we would have to have a demonstration of a sizable underage tracking through the month of June and July, which are the busiest months by far. And so August 1st is just allows for us to begin to have the conversation. In actual fact, when it was implemented in, I think it was 3 or 4 years ago, it was the end of August. It was like the third week in August, where, boy, we see what's happening with July fisheries. We're getting early indications of what catch is showing for August, and we're going to have a considerable overage, so let's implement it. And that would be the same for this. So August 1st sort of is not so much a marker of when that 3 bag limit would be put in place. It's when the conversation can begin about it. I realize that's not exactly how it's worded, but I'm saying by looking at the mechanics of how we are going through our catch estimates, how the catch estimates are collected, August 1st is a virtual impossibility to actually implement it. It just is a time of the year where we can honestly begin to earnestly discuss it if there is that opportunity.
Hi, it's Martin Fisher from the SFAB. I don't know how I can get attention to speak. I'm online, but I have one clarifying point I can help with.
We can hear you.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, with regards to the inability to change lengths versus bag limits, it's just a function of how Canadian regulations are established and administered. So the lengths of halibut are done under a condition of license. And a condition of license is actually written down on the license, which means you can't change it in the middle of the year without reprinting all the licenses. So lengths we're unable to do. Bag limits, because it goes through a variety of different species, bag limits and possession limits, those have already been captured in regulation. And our regulatory process is long, it's complicated. There's a list of priorities that government has to consider before we get to fishing regulations, right? And so lengths are unchangeable, and it will be a long, long time, if ever, when we'll be able to change them in season. But bag limits we can, and that's just a simple reason. They've already been captured in regulation. There is the ability to officially vary them, so they don't become a condition of license, which essentially is cast in stone for that season. I hope that's helpful. And I just would speak that I am definitely going to vote in support of this motion. I have been the chair of the Halibut Committee in the SFAB for many years. I'm not now, but have been a member of the Halibut Committee since 2005, I believe, and can say with certainty that the intent of the Canadian recreational fishery is to manage to our cap, to our quota, and would add that, based on the comment that Chris made, that there is strong disincentive for Canadian recreational fishermen to go over their TAC based on the overage provision, whereby whatever amount we're calculated to be over does get deducted from the following year's THC or TAC, and that has happened. So I hope that's helpful.
Yeah, thanks for that clarification. I have someone over here first, and then Rebecca Ken, and then Rebecca.
I'd just like to speak in favor of this motion. It's the recreational fishery in Canada is fairly well monitored. And what all they're attempting to do, because of the constraints that they're in, is provide a year-long season. So at the start of the year, they sit down and they establish a length and a catch limit and a possession limit. And if I'm right, the possession limit went from 2 fish to 1 fish this year. And the bag limit for the season for a recreational fisherman is 10 fish, which is to be recorded on his license the moment he catches the fish. All they're attempting to do is have the ability to keep a season as long as they can open for the residents and attain their catch within that and not go over. If they go over, it comes off the next year, which means they're even in more constraints, which has happened to them in the past. And the season has been closed at, I don't know exactly what point in time, but it was, in the fall, September the 1st, if I remember right. So as an individual, I think what they're really doing is being responsible in managing their fishery. And all they're asking for is the ability to catch their fish because they may have restrained themselves too much at the start of the year trying to be responsible.
Thank you, Ken. Any other, go ahead.
John Beath, the Puget Sound Anglers. Twice I've heard resident. Is this only for Canadian residents? I know there's a lot of recreational anglers in my club that have Canadian licenses.
There's only one recreational fishery in Canada, and so you acquire a license for that. So what I'm saying is that by nature of the time of year and the ability of anglers to get out, it's likely to be to the benefit of residents or recreational anglers, I suppose. Not so much the businesses, because you couldn't advertise it, you couldn't market it. There's no ability to do that. But it would be open to anybody that holds a recreational tidal waters sport fishing license.
Thank you.
Okay, sorry, I had
Thank you.
Rebecca next.
Thanks. I wanted to make sure I was understanding this, and apologies if you already explained it. In Canada, with the recreational licenses, does that apply to just an individual who wants to go out and fish by themselves, as well as somebody who's employing the use of a charter company? Does it cover both? Or, because in the US, those are different things.
Yeah, thanks for that question. Like I say, there is only one recreational fishery, one recreational fishing license, and that's it. There's no stratification.
I'm going to ask
follow-up. Can I ask a follow-up? Then when you say that if you go over, they take it out of the next year's ability to catch, so they're keeping track by the individual. If I went and got if I could get a Canadian license, if I got it and I went over, the next year when I go to get a license, they're literally, instead of giving me my 10 fish, they're going to say you have the ability to catch 9 fish or 8 fish?
No, it's not sort of by the individual in that sense, and you would be absolutely welcome to get a license in Canada. No, it's basically tracking the catch for the entirety of the recreational fishery, and so next year, rather than 500,000 pounds, if we had an overage of 50,000 pounds this year, we'd be only able to get 450,000 pounds as the recreational fishery.
Forrest, go ahead.
Yeah, again, I'm sympathetic. I think under the circumstances that I'm uncomfortable extending this indefinitely. I think we have some other things that we need to kind of resolve that are bigger issues in equitability. And if this should ever become something that goes earlier in the season or which I know that you're promising that it won't, but it has moved that direction. And it's just, I think that there is a marketing issue here potentially, maybe not late season like this as you're describing it. I think that there is, and we have these discussions about opening dates and parity between the countries, because if one or the other goes first, there could be, market increase or price increase. I do think that there's that element, and obviously you're sensitive to that. The way you're presenting it is this won't be something that's marketable, but that marketing differential does matter. It matters inside Alaska. It matters between countries. So I don't think I can support the motion as presented. Maybe we can have discussions between now and next year and better understand it, but I won't be supporting the motion as presented. Thank you.
Can I ask a question of the maker of the motion, just because I'm hearing this anxiety around in perpetuity? And I thought I heard you, I understood you to say you couldn't accept amendments on this because it's a Canada proposal, but would you be open to an amendment that said, make this for 5 years or make this for 3 years? I'm just trying to see if there's a way to find common ground here.
To be honest, I'm not sure that I'm entitled to do that, considering that it's, the contracted party is bringing it forward. I don't know procedurally if that's acceptable.
Okay, I just wanted to put the idea out there. Is that, Chris, did you?
I guess it's a procedure question. This is a
microphone.
I guess I'm not clear either. Like, this is a procedure because this is the proposal that's put me forward. Isn't conference board free to put forward a motion that says something?
Yes.
Like
generally.
I think that's procedurally correct, right? Okay.
Yes, I mean, certainly the maker of the motion can say, I don't want to accept an amendment, and we can vote on the amendment. But I think it would be within the purview of a conference board member to make that decision. I just wanted to put that idea out there, but we'll give you a second.
Yeah. Yeah. If I may, then could I have 5 minutes to be able to look? Not a lot of my recreational colleagues are happen to be here this year. They are online. If I could have 5 minutes to caucus with them.
Sure. Why don't we take
I
a?
want to take a comment of one person.
Oh, sorry. We have one person online that wants to comment first. Let's take that, and then we'll take a stand down.
Thank you.
CHN.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
We got you. Go ahead.
Yeah, I know. I mean, we've heard rationale from both sides, but I'm going to be honest with my comment. I mean, the Haida Nation, we're right in the hot zone of fishing and commercial and recreational. And what Canada's proposed is something that's relatively fair. We've heard marketing issues and concerns. The barn door and the Facebook smear that we see in YouTube is embarrassing on our marketing pitch. It continues, and with our under and over caps, we've been the most accountable in this fishery within all regions. I see a lot of American clientele at home here, and their case is we went to Alaska, it's mismanaged, we want to come back and enjoy the fishery for what it is. So from what I observed, we're contributing to 2C's weight per unit, and let's wake up here. Want to keep that gene pool going and some opportunities, and the weather plays a big role in our area too. So we don't have the channels to hide and get out of the weather like 2C. We're in the open, so an earlier date supports getting out there, having an opportunity to fish. And most of our resident guys like to go out when the salmon late runs of coho and chum are migrating in and there's a few halibut to hit. It's not because they can't in this season, it's just what they prefer. So I'll just leave it there. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for that comment. Let's try and keep it to a 5-minute stand down if we can. Be back at 10:18. Okay, I wanted to check again now with you as the maker of the motion, if you are open to any amendments on the motion, and if so, then we will invite them.
Yeah, as I understand it, here at the conference board, we can accept a proposal to amend this current proposal. And so, yes.
Great, and certainly you can vote against an amendment as well. You can accept it as friendly. You can say it's unfriendly. We take a vote, but I just wanted to make sure, based on your comment before, that you were willing. Okay, so I'm just going to open it up to see if anybody here wants to propose an amendment to the motion.
Okay, and
Linda?
to be clear, that's not something that I could do, or yeah. So,
No,
yeah.
you can't amend your own motion. Sorry, I think there was someone online coming in.
fair.
Was that Kathy?
Yeah, it was me. I would make amendment that, let's see, add a sunset date for 5 years, so 26. So this proposal would be, or this regulation would be in place from 2026 to 2031?
Yes.
Wow,
Five,
that's
so
like a ways away.
6, 7, 8, 9, 2030.
2030? Okay, thank you.
Okay, so motion for a 5-year sunset, which would have this sunsetting in 2030. Is there a second to that motion to amend?
I'll second.
Thank you, Rebecca. Okay, Kathy, you want to speak to that motion?
I remember our discussion when this first came up and we did a 3-year sunset date because some of us were extremely nervous about it. On a lot of these proposals, it's sometimes hard to understand the other parties' regulations and process and all that. In the 3-year time period, if I understand correctly, it was used once. And when you make the change after August 1st, the intent was to hit more resident than the summertime tourism season. I like giving Canada the opportunity to use their quota and to not have it not get used. This provides them the flexibility to try to do that. It's in the 3 years that it was here, it wasn't abused. So I'd like to give it another chance to see how it operates.
Okay, thanks, Kathy. I forgot to ask if that was friendly. Do you want to accept that as friendly, or would you prefer a vote on that amendment?
Can I ask one question? So the phrase sunset was used to describe this friendly amendment. Would it be acceptable to change the word sunset to reviewed after 5 years?
I think that's two different things, but I don't know
I
if
do
you
understand,
could.
and so that's
Okay,
so based
so-
on the reply to that, I'll give you an answer.
Decide if it's friendly. Okay,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Kathy, I don't know if you heard that, but the request was to change it from sunset to review this provision in 5 years.
I'm going to stick with sunset, and the reason why is because this is a regulation. What does review of the regulation mean, and who's reviewing it? So the only clear-cut way for the U.S. to know that this is coming back in front of the conference board is for it to be definitive, which is what the sunset provision is.
Okay, thanks for that clarification. Then I would not accept it as a friendly amendment.
Okay, so we had a motion and a second, I think, on that. Rebecca seconded. So any other comments on that motion that amends the main motion? If not, we can go to a vote. Forrest.
Yeah, I'd like to offer a friendly amendment to reduce the sunset to 1 year from 5. And with a second, I can speak to that.
So that's in effect a substitute motion for the amendment.
Okay.
Not, I mean, you can have an amendment to the amendment, but in this case, it's a substitute motion to that amendment because it would carry the motion, the amendment motion. So your motion and would be for a 1 year sunset.
There we go. Yeah, so I just lost my train of thought, but yeah, then it would be a substitute for the amendment.
Okay, so a substitute motion for a 1 year sunset on this provision. Is there a second to that?
Second.
We got a second from Malcolm. Okay, you want to comment on that?
Yes, I would like to comment on that. So I am just not convinced that you can't handle this internally, but I'm sympathetic to that might take some time. 2 years ago in Area 2C, we tried a differential bag limit where we started out at one size and then switched to another size. And it just isn't, it's not that difficult. And so I don't want to cut you off cold, but I think you need to take it back to DFO and work through this. And it's just not impossible to change your framework so that you can handle it within the, the confines of the 2 fish bag limit that everybody's had for a long time. This started out during COVID. And I'm still struggling a little bit with some of the other equity issues. But we can work on those separately. So I'm just uncomfortable extending this for 5 years and with some goal of, the 3 fish bag limit is a way that this has to be addressed. I think it can be addressed elsewhere.
Okay, and I'm assuming that is not a friendly amendment, so we will take a vote on it. But did you want to speak to that?
I did. I guess it's with respect for us, we have some regulatory framework and some ability to vary license and conditions of license and those sorts of things. And having experience in other forums, these are not easy changes to make. They take sometimes in the order of 10 years to make adjustments. Seems ridiculous, and in many regards it is, but those are the facts. This is the lane that we find ourselves in, and so this is the way that we're trying to provide that opportunity to take advantage of an underage should that situation occur. So it's not as easy as just saying, well, just get her done and make a change. We can't really do that. I'm a little uncomfortable, or maybe just unclear about procedurally what is occurring here. My thought was before we took a break is that we would, come back and I'd say, look, we're amenable to an amendment, and I'm prepared to. I guess I thought I might have an opportunity to propose what that might be, and again, bear with me on the procedural aspect of this. And so, where we're now is different. We're going to have a vote on something that is not perceived as a friendly amendment. Following that, will there be an opportunity for an amendment which the mover would be amenable to be brought forward, or what happens? And sorry for not being clear on that.
No, and this gets complicated if amendments fail on one side and not on the other, right? But the maker of the motion can't amend their own motion.
Okay.
You can have someone else from Canada can propose an amendment that you accept. But at this point, we have a different amendment on the floor, which is to have a 1-year sunset as an amendment to your motion. If it passes, which we'll have to confer on how we handle it if it passes on one side and not the other. But then we would have potentially an amendment motion before us, and there would still be an opportunity for you to make another amendment to it, or someone else to amend yours, sorry, the country to amend it, before we vote on the main motion.
Okay, and again, sort of bear with me. So would it be helpful to understand what it was that the amendment was that I was anticipating to be acceptant of?
Would it be helpful?
I mean, would it be informative?
Sure, let us know.
Okay.
We're a loose group. Sure, tell us.
So, okay, it was going to be August 15th and a review, and I'm open to the wording about the nature of the word review in 5 years.
Okay, that's good to know, so people have that in mind when you vote on the motion that's currently on the table.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we are going to take a vote on this, and then we are going to figure out how to handle it if it goes how I expect it's going to go. Oh, so I'm sorry. Robert and Rebecca each had their hands up before I go there.
Yeah, thanks. I was just wondering if I could put Gwen on the spot and maybe explain why it's so difficult to change the size limit here in Canada.
I'm very sorry. It's just my colleagues online, and I just saw a text come in. Could you please ask the question again?
I'm just getting Gwen to explain.
I think we're bringing in the manager to help you out here.
Yes, excellent. That's great. Very handy.
Hi, folks. I'm Gwen Mason. I'm the halibut coordinator with DFO. And yeah, the way that recreational regulations operate in Canada is size limits are codified in the conditions of license prior to the beginning of each season. They are not able to be changed once they are codified within a given season. These size limits are discuss at length with the Sport Fish Advisory Board and need to be approved by DFO prior to the season beginning. And there are multiple forecasting models that are done looking at previous years' catch and trends by area and by month. So these are approved prior to the season beginning and are not able to be changed. Currently, Canada has a permanent flexibility to move between 1 and 2 per day bag limit. That is within our domestic ability to change in season. The move to a potential 3 per day limit is only able to be done when it is when it has been approved at kind of this level, the IPHC level. And so that is able to be done via a variation order, which needs a regional director general, so our big boss within the BC region, approval for that to be able to happen.
Okay, thanks for that clarification. I'm going to go to Robert. Okay, or was that, that's what you were looking for. Great. Okay, Rebecca.
Thank you. I was going to save some of these comments for the main motion, but they do relate to how I plan to vote on the proposed amendment. I am not a charter person on the U.S. side, so I may misunderstand this, but my understanding of how it works on the Canadian side is that you have one recreational license. It's for individuals. Like if I just wanted to go catch a halibut, I would get the same kind of license as if somebody went out on a charter boat. Because of that, I guess it does make sense to me why you would put, because I was sitting over here thinking, why would you put the fish size on a license? That seems really like down in the weeds. But because you have one license for every recreational user, you don't want the individual like me trying to guess, well, what is a reverse slot limit like we have on the US side? So on the US side, the charter operators are in charge of managing that, making sure that the people catching the fish catch the right size, the right kind of fish. So on the Canadian side, you manage it differently. Because of that, I can understand why the size is on the license, and I can understand, logistically, bureaucratically, why it's impossible or very, very difficult. I mean, you can't change that in season. You're not going to reprint all the licenses. I get that. In general, I do support when we do these, we come here and we come up with the allocations for both countries. I support generally each country being able to make decisions within its own jurisdiction. Like in general, I like that idea. But I do struggle with the question of, is this a competitive advantage? I don't want to support something that's going to disadvantage the charter businesses on the US side. And also, this has been mentioned, I struggle with, in general, between the contracting parties, the way the allocations have come out. So while that is not directly in this proposal, it is something that everyone in the room is thinking about. For the question about 1-year sunset or 5-year sunset, I seconded Kathy's motion and I supported what she outlined, which is there wasn't an abuse in the 3 years it was in place, and let's try another 5 years to see how it goes and maybe gain more comfort level. I support the 5 years partly because I support each country being able to manage what happens within its jurisdiction. So I am feeling a little bit conflicted, but I will not support the 1-year sunset. I think 5 years is more appropriate, but there's these bigger issues, bigger disagreements between the sides that is definitely impacting this particular, I think the thinking and the results on this particular proposal. Thanks.
Go ahead, Ken.
I'd just like to speak to the competitive portion of this. Earlier in these discussions around this table, we heard about the quality of sports fish and how the customers were complaining in Alaska and different things like that. These guys set a size limit and a bag limit. The size limit, if they wanted to increase the bag limit, the size limit would have to go down so that they could extend their season, which then affects, according to the Alaskan people, the quality of the fish. What I would think that the best way to describe the competitive advantage is ask yourself if you would spend the money that it would take to come to Canada, buy a license to go out and keep one halibut. If you kept more than one halibut and you were caught with it, you would be subject to the laws of Canada. Some of those laws of Canada include the confiscation of boats and things like that. So a charter person, I really don't think that he would put himself in a position of losing his boat. So when it comes to a competitive advantage, I really don't think that that's a real issue, because I know that I wouldn't go myself and spend the money to travel and do things to catch one fish that may be 25 pounds at the outset.
Okay, thanks for that. We've got Russell online and then Brian, and then I think we should vote because we're going to run out of time here pretty quick. Russell, go ahead. Russell, we're not hearing you. Maybe he's still on mute. Is he? You said he was.
He has his hands up now.
Okay, there it's off, I think.
Got it.
I just wanted to say that I think it's important that this provision moves forward somehow. And for me, it allows the recreational sector in BC that has a hard cap, once the TACs are set, live within that cap or be penalized in the following year. And given them this 3-year option late in the season, especially as it's moved to August 15th, well, hasn't been moved, but potentially allows them to be less aggressive early in the season and potentially overdo their limit. I think without this sort of release at the back end of the season, which will support more local catch, they will be looking at higher bag limits earlier in the season, so that to the 2 instead of the 1, so that it will be more likely they will get up to 90 or over 100% of their catch and be penalized, and that will be detrimental to our resource, allowing them. Anyway, I've said enough. Thank you.
Okay, last comment, Brian.
Thank you. Not a comment. I don't mean to belabor this, but I guess I'm a little bit confused. This is obviously something U.S. stakeholders are concerned about, and I'm hearing 2 different things from across the table right now. I'm hearing that you can change length limits, and I'm hearing that you cannot change length limits, and you cannot change length limits. In season, you cannot, and this would be, so the intent of this is as a cleanup. So I'm hearing 2 different intents in my head when I'm listening to you across here. So I guess I've been confused.
To be clear, you can't change the length after the season has begun, and but the bag limit, obviously, that's what's being discussed. Worth noting that in the 5 years previous, that this had been sort of on the table. 2 times it was used. And the situation then was that you were able to take a larger halibut or 3 small ones. We had a hybrid system, again, trying to mitigate harvest that would allow for a larger one was 133 centimeters or 3 small ones. I think it was under 83 centimeters. I could be not exactly right on that, but that's how it was used. And again, all of the same rules applied. If we were going to be having any threat of going over, that wouldn't have even been considered, but we were definitely under. And so that's the situation that we're in here now, except there is no longer a large fish option because of the circumstances for the TAC.
Okay, are people clear on that now, that where Canada has flexibility in the regulations in season and where they don't? I feel like it's been said a number of times, but hopefully we're clear there. Oh boy. Okay, Dee Dee, you haven't spoken. Go ahead.
Hi, thank you. I think we just would be a lot more comfortable with a 1-year sunset due to the marketing advantage of one year. I worry that we would see a shift to more folks fishing in August because there would be the marketing advantage of like a wait and see. You could get 3 fish in August. So just a lot more comfortable with a 1-year sunset.
Okay, thanks for that. Go ahead, Robert.
Yeah, I just want to clarify that Canada is fishing to a fixed share. So like they have a certain poundage that's what they're allocated and that's what they're trying to achieve. That as far as the wait and see, you still have recreational fishers that are not part of the charter that are going out and fishing. So you can't really wait and see because that fish is still being taken out of the water and it's still going to hit your hard cap at some point. So I don't see the marketing advantage. But again, like, I don't want to belabor the point. We should probably get a vote on, but I understand that you guys don't really understand our fishery and are trying to ask some clarifying questions.
Okay, are we ready to vote on this? I think we have one person online that would like to make another comment, but I'm really feeling like we're running out of time.
Could you explain procedurally, like, what's going to happen now. We're going to vote on.
We're
the one-
voting on the amendment to add a 1-year sunset to the motion.
Okay, thank you.
The main motion being allowing 3 fish after August 1st in Canada's recreational fishery, up to 3 fish. And that's guided and unguided. Is everybody clear?
Should we put the vote up? Are we voting now?
We're voting on a 1-year sunset to Owen's motion. That's the vote, okay? Whether we add a 1-year sunset.
It's changing the original 5-year sunset proposal to a 1-year sunset proposal.
Yes. Okay, let's everybody vote on whether you support adding a 1-year sunset.
I lost connection, so Sifa is no.
I'm unconnected as well. Russell Cameron, Unifor is no on the 1-year sunset.
And Jerry Christensen the same. I still haven't been able to sort out my voting thing, but my vote is a no. South Coast, SFAB.
I heard from Mike Fowler, Canada SFAB North Coast, that he was having trouble voting, but it looks like he has placed his vote. So let me know if you haven't got a vote from him. I got him on the phone. He'll give you the answer.
Yeah, Council Haida Nation as well. No troubles voting online.
So just a clarifying question for Owen, are we going to be in a position to have a discussion in 1 year about the success or failures of a program? Will you be able to provide the data, how this worked, how it didn't work in 1 year?
Absolutely. This vote notwithstanding, of course, we would be prepared to explain and see how it's going.
Okay, I think we're closed. We've closed the vote.
Doesn't look Linda, yeah, I kind of stated earlier, I'm having troubles voting online, and it's a no for CHN.
I think we got that one. Yep, we got you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So the motion fails, and you want a minute to record it? Yes.
Okay, come on. Okay.
Okay, so vote's been taken, it's been recorded. So that's kind of good. It failed on both sides. We don't have a split vote. I like that. So let's, oh, no, it didn't. It passed. Yeah, we're going to rule it abstentions counting as a no on this. And I'm going to give Canada a chance to offer an amendment. Go ahead, Robert.
Yeah, I'd propose to make the motion for a start date of August 15th, no earlier than August 15th, and a 5-year period to be reviewed at the end of those 5 years to bring it back to the board.
Linda?
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded. And I know Kathy, you're going to say your motion is still on the floor.
Well, I was going to say to clear things up we're going to just say that before that motion was offered, I withdrew my motion with a concurrence of my second.
Sure, I'll concur.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, we had sort of called it a substitute that carried the 5-year, but that's probably cleaner. Okay, so that's been removed, and now we have on the floor a motion to add to the main motion a date of August 15th instead of August 1st for allowing this 3 fish bag limit in the recreational sector, and calling for a 5-year review, not sunset. So is that acceptable to the maker of the motion as a friendly? Okay.
Linda, I want to step in as vice chair real quickly and take a pause here. We just changed 10 abstentions from the U.S. in a vote to no's, which changes the U.S. position. And that, I just want to make sure that at least that's going to be reflected in the notes. Otherwise, I'm not comfortable as vice chair moving forward, probably today.
It will be reflected as an abstention. Let's take a few minutes, stand down, and figure out how to deal with it. I don't know how to move ahead with a split vote on a amendment to a motion. And so we'll just have to figure out how we're going to deal with it.
Okay.
Just the direction of Robert's Rules of Orders, whether you use abstentions as no vote at all, or whether they fall in the majority vote. That's a Robert's Rules of Order call, and you have to describe which one you're following.
All right, thanks everybody for the stand down. So this always gets us into trouble when we have, amendments and it comes out differently on the different sides. But so what we're going to do, thanks for flagging your concern, Robert. We're going to say the motion failed overall, but it passed on the U.S. side. Could we get less conversations? So what passed on the U.S. side was in support of adding a 1-year sunset to this motion from Owen. That 1-year sunset failed for Canada. We'll reflect it that way in the notes. We will also reflect the yeses, nos, and abstentions. So we're going to now take up the motion that Roberts made that's been accepted as a friendly by Owen, which keeps us out of that mess of having it be a friendly amendment. And that amendment makes the main motion that a 3 fish bag limit is allowed after August 15th in the recreational sector, and that the provision to allow a 3 fish bag limit will be reviewed in 5 years. So it's not a sunset, it's a review. Should we put that, feel like we should put that up on the board so that everybody's clear on what we're voting on.
Linda?
Go ahead, Kathy.
Could somebody explain to me in this context what the word review will actually mean and entail.
As I sort of mentioned earlier, the intent was to allow for this proposal to be brought back to the conference board to be literally reviewed or considered moving forward. That's the intent.
Right. And I think the difference between a review and a sunset is, in this case, with the review, it stays in place unless there is action to terminate it, whereas with the sunset, it ends unless there is positive action to continue it. But in either case, it would be considered by the conference board and the commission and the PAB, and there's an opportunity for action at that time.
Better stated than I did. Thanks, Linda.
Fumbling our way through it. Okay, so that's the motion now that we're voting on. It's Owen's proposal with a review in 5 years and allows a 3 fish bag limit in the recreational sector, guided and unguided, after August 15th. Rebecca.
Yeah, I just wanted a clarification because there's this mention of the friendly amendment. When we vote on this, are we considering this to be an amendment? So we'll vote on the amendment and the main motion, or a vote on this ends the entire process?
Yes, it was accepted as a friendly, so it is now part of the main motion. So you are voting on the main motion with this language included, and that will hopefully be our final decision on this proposed reg. Okay, everybody clear? Sorry for the confusion. Go ahead and vote.
We're also happy to take votes from online participants that have trouble voting software. Please just state these to the record. Thank you.
This is Jerry Christensen voting online and voting in favor. South Coast SFAB.
Hey, Linda, I realize this is way too late. I guess I missed the opportunity to make comments on this particular motion. So I'm unclear, when this gets captured in the minutes, what is the rationale that's going to be used? Or is the rationale from the last vote going to be used? Or what are we using? Because I might have had additional or different comments for this particular motion. Thanks.
So we'll reflect the discussion that explained why this regulatory proposal had been put forward. And the maker of the motion spoke somewhat to why they've suggested those different dates. You'll have a chance to review those minutes and see whether you think it adequately reflects the position of the conference board, and to suggest any edits.
Okay, but are we falling back on, if we didn't say it on the record, it can't be captured in the minutes? I guess that's my main concern.
I feel like a lot was said on the minutes and or on the record, and that we can distill that down.
Okay,
and I think there's been an effort here to find a compromise that works for everybody, and that's part of why there was this friendly amendment on the date and the review. Did we get everybody online that, let's see, Buck's out of the room, not voting. That's USA Magic, right? Buck and Mark are both out of the room, and we got your Canadian. Okay, all right, then I think we're ready to close the vote.
Enough.
All right, so we will reflect in the minutes that this passes for Canada, fails on the US side, and that's what we will report forward. Okay, hopefully we can move to the next proposal. It's too bad it didn't bring us together. Ready? Okay, we'll get a presentation on this one.
Thank you. Proposal B3 is proposing an opening date for the 2026 Area 2 recreational fishery in Washington, Puget Sound, the U.S. conventional waters in the Strait on Juan de Fuca, and in California. This is something that could be
I couldn't hear.
Okay, is that better now? Thank you. Proposal B3, it's a proposal from NOAA Fisheries related to West Coast regions of Regulatory Area 2A, and it proposes an opening date for the 2026 Area 2A recreational fishery in Washington, Puget Sound, the U.S. conventional waters in the Strait on Juan de Fuca, and in California. This proposal provides a specific language for a couple of the sub-areas opening dates in the IPHC regulations.
I have a motion on this one.
Dave Kernquist, CCA, move to approve.
Thanks for that. Is there a second? Okay, we have a second there. Do you want to speak to your motion, Dave?
Historically, we've been opening in early April, better water conditions, some more fish available early on. We've had this for a number of years now. We fish on an annual quota of 6 fish in Washington, 1 fish a day. And it's just, and a safety issue too for folks.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, comments on the proposal? Okay, I assume Canada will abstain on this. Any objection to this motion from the US? Okay, seeing none, that passes. Let's move on.
Moving to stakeholders' proposals, now we have proposal C1. This proposal was submitted by Fishing Vessel Owner Association and proposes unguided recreational sector Pacific halibut daily bag limit reduction from 2 fish to 1 fish in all IPHC regulatory areas in Alaska. And there was a lot of public comment on that, I will note, and that's pretty much the change that is here on the table. Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion on this one.
I'll give a motion.
Go ahead, Kathy.
Hang on, let me hit send so staff has it. So the CB acknowledges this proposal, but believes the correct venue for action is the North Pacific Fishery Management Council. We request the commissioners to engage with ADF&G and the North Pacific Fishery Management Council through the Secretariat, emphasizing the present low abundance of the stock, the effect the unguided recreational sector has on the directed fisheries. With the growth of the unguided recreational sector, particularly the bareboat charters, and at our present level of halibut abundance, we are heading towards a conservation concern. And with a second, I will speak more to it.
Second from Nels. Go ahead, Kathy.
So most of this growth in the unguided recreational sector is coming from bareboat charters, which is being accessed in order to benefit from the more liberal bag limit of 2 fish a day compared to what the current charter bag limits are. The unguided recreational sector accounting is not in season or as timely as other systems. And this is mainly aimed at areas 2C and 3A where there's an allocation differential between the charter and the non-guided recreational sector. The only other comment I would point out, just so we acknowledge that they were there, in the 900 and some comments that were received, there was a extremely high amount of them that was in opposition to going to a 1 fish bag limit. Again, I believe the most appropriate venue is through the council process and in-country processes. And I'm sure some other people have some other points.
Okay, thanks, Kathy. Anybody else? Go ahead, Nels.
Yeah, thanks for the motion, Kathy. I just want to add a couple points here. I think that the nature of the motion and moving it through other bodies is responsive. I think it was at least commented on loud and clear that the IPHC is not the venue for making this. I think that going through the correct channels and getting all pertinent data to make the best management decisions is worthwhile. This is a significant and continuing to grow issue in 2C. We are starting to see it creep into 3A. There's no real way for the IPHC to account for this pre-season, and as made very, very aware both at North Pacific Council meeting, conversations in December in lead up to this meeting, here at this meeting, the commission accounted for just over 1 million pounds of removal from this sector. They ended up, actual removal was close to 1.4 million. So that's nearly a 40% increase on what the IPHC had accounted for. We see those fish taken off the top of what both the commercial and the sport sector are allowed to take. It just continues to drive down what these two sectors are able to have. There's no management structure in order to put constraints here. We think that just as we continue to operate in this low abundance regime, all participants in the fishery need to be held accountable, and there need to be proper management mechanisms and measures in place. So yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Nels. Jeff? Oh, and then Robert.
Yep, thanks. And I agree with all those comments. I just also want to point out that most of this issue is being largely driven by this expanded boat rental business, and most of that harvest is occurring through non-residents that, rather than the resident Alaskans that often utilize their sport fishing licenses just for, gathering food and that kind of thing. And as Nels pointed out, there currently isn't any abundance-based management in this sector, which is obviously leading to lots of problems, especially at lower abundance.
Yeah, I just wanted to make some statements. I'm going to be abstaining from this motion. However, it's your guys' America's policy to determine what this national can do with its share. But I would just like to make the comment that in regards to the unguided sports fishing sector, that they've gone over their allocation. It's not the first time they've gone over their allocation. Here in Canada, if we go over allocation, there is a payback. through the resource. So I just like to make a note that Canada is concerned that you guys are going over your projected allocations, and it's not the first time. So thank you.
Thanks for that. Go ahead, Malcolm.
Yeah, I just asked, maybe the maker of the motion could look at that second sentence, because I think it needs a little help. We request the commissioners to engage with ADF&G and the MPFMC through the Secretariat, emphasizing the present low abundance of the stock, the effect the unguided recreational sector has on the directed fisheries.
And the effect.
Hi, it's Martin Fisher from the SFAB here. I wonder if I can ask a question at some point.
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, just following up on Robert's comments, we have noted that the sector has fairly consistently gone over its allowable catch. What happens to that? I'm unclear. I apologize. I think us in the Canadian rec sector likely is unfamiliar with what goes on in Alaska, but it's just a question of curiosity. What happens to that overage?
I can try and answer that. I think Adam is in the room from Fish and Game, who can come to the table and, oh, there you are, great. So right now we do not have an allocation for unguided sport in Alaska. The estimated catch, or the catch from 1 year, is carried forward and deducted before the commercial and guided sport allocations are set. So that increased number will be deducted this year before those allocations are set for 2026. And as far as, I think we were at 102% maybe in Southeast with where we are estimated removals right now. And there is not a payback provision except in the commercial sector. If the commercial sector goes over, that any individual sees their IFQs debited for the following year. With the charter sector, if they are over, their measures are adjusted to prevent an overage in the next year. But again, with our unguided sport, that what they take comes off the top before the guided and commercial are set.
Thank you very much. That answers my question. I appreciate it.
Okay, any other discussion on this motion? Forrest?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll just add maybe just some thoughts to this. I've heard some conversation about locals getting food. This motion describes the sports sector as recreational. I think those words are interchangeable. I think as CEGO representative that our fleet would say that we do have some concerns about the recreational sector as a whole. We recognize that this forum is not the correct one to discuss domestic management. So in that sense, I think we can support the motion. We're pulling out bareboat charters, which is not a term I've heard before, bareboat charters. And maybe maybe we can coin that phrase, I don't know. But in general, I think it would be a good place to start with the council having a discussion about how to approach the overall recreational sector and equity there, and that in combination with other sectors. Thank you. I'll be supporting the motion with sort of that nuance.
Okay, thanks. Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, I just have a clarifying question. I'm wondering what those of us with recreational boats that live in Alaska are considered. They're certainly not an unguided recreational sector, but what would that sector be called? Because I want to make sure that the language here doesn't raise any concern about those that have their own vessels in Alaska taking a reduced bag limit. And I think people were up in arms about that. So what would that sector be considered for the private angler?
So in Alaska, we have subsistence, we have sport, we have guided sport, and we have commercial. We are seeing this new model develop as the guided sport becomes more confining. That is outfitted bareboat people who are given a boat and the gear and go out to fish, but there's no guide on that boat. They may have a computer that helps them get to where the fish are, but there is not a guide on the boat, and that's what bareboat charter is. If you are fishing on your own boat, you are a sport fisherman or you are subsistence fishing. If you are not being guided and not renting a boat.
Okay, I think that helps. I just wanted to make sure that clarification, that was
Thank
clear.
you.
Thanks.
Jeff?
Yeah, and I can't remember if I didn't hear it before, but just to, clarify, this issue is mostly pervasive in 2C and expanding in 3A as well. The other areas aren't nearly as affected by this, the boat rental, charter business, or whatever we're calling it, DIY. I've heard it called a lot of different things, but it's mostly a 2C, 3A issue.
Thanks, Jeff. I think, did you have your hand, or someone over here have their hand up? Chris?
Yeah, just the subsistence, is that like a indigenous food fishery?
Subsistence is available in Alaska to rural residents.
Okay, so that means you're basically recreational fishing, but you're not allowed to have any fun? Like,
You can have fun subsistence fishing as well.
okay, or does that mean like in the recreational fishing, you're not allowed to eat it? Like, I don't, like, it just seems like a very interesting distinction, that's all. There's separate rules for it, and you.
There are separate rules
license and-
in what gear you can use and how many fish you can take is different between subsistence and sport. And also any urban resident does not qualify for subsistence. It's rural only. And if we go much beyond this, I'm going to have someone else
Okay,
answer
thank you.
questions.
You can look it up on their website. It kind of gives you an explanation.
There's different allowances as far as gear that can be used, the card you have to have, fish that can be kept. Who you are, yes. Okay, go ahead, Daniel.
Yeah, Linda, just a little, maybe a suggestion. In the past, we've always called this the rental boat discussion, and it's people renting a boat and then going out and catching a halibut. And so that might be something to be used in this type of a situation. I don't know, just a friendly suggestion.
So your suggestion, if I'm understanding, is to use bareboat rental or just rental instead
Rental
of
boat, that's what we've called it in the past. This has come through the council, and the state couldn't identify it. It was like 2018, 2019, and we tried to identify but we couldn't figure out, well, is a paddle boat, or a paddle board, a rental boat, or is a canoe or a kayak, or, and so there's no way to really identify, and at least that's what the state said. Maybe it's changed since then, I don't know, but it definitely needs to be discussed at the council level.
But I'm going to ask Kathy about if this is acceptable to her, but I want to be clear about your ask. Do you want bareboat charters? You want the word charters also struck, so it's rental boat use? Is that what you're suggesting?
It's just a friendly suggestions, and just use rental boats.
Rental boats. Okay, Kathy, is that acceptable to you?
Sure. Back when we were doing the catch share plan and everything else, it was bareboat charters is how we always referred to it. So that was the terminology I used, but I don't really care.
Okay. Acceptable to the second, I think that was Malcolm. There you are. Acceptable to you to make, or who, sorry. Yes.
No.
Okay. Oh boy, where? Brian? Oh, go ahead.
I'm just going to point out that whatever language you guys want to go with is fine, but they do mean the same thing.
Okay. Any other comment or Forrest?
Yeah, just so our Canadian neighbors know it, and just a reminder for the U.S. side, the Magnuson-Stevens Act does not allow discrimination or differentiation between resident and non-residents. Federal fishery, equal access kind of an idea. So just keep that in the back of your mind as this conversation moves forward. And they also, the MSA doesn't, they do use the word charter, but not in a sense of regulation differentiation under the MSA. So I just want to provide that context here so folks understand.
Okay, thanks for that. Because we probably should vote on this, or should I assume Canada wants to abstain on this one? Domestic issue, Roger? Let me try this on the US side. Is there any objection to this motion, or anybody who wants to abstain from this motion? Okay, seeing none. Oh, okay, one abstentions, and you've online. Any abstentions or any noes? I've got, oh, you two are abstaining. Sorry, I forget you're US. 3 abstentions.
3 abstention on the US.
Oh, now we have 5.
You want to vote?
I think we need to move along. Oh, you want to vote? All right, okay, we have a request for a vote. So sorry, we're going to have you all vote on this. Vote is open on Kathy's motion relative to the proposal for a 1 fish bag limit that states this, we are referring this for action to the North Pacific Fishery Management Council as the more appropriate body to take this out.
Happy to take any votes from online participants too.
This is Jerry Christensen online. I abstain.
Okay, I think we're ready to close the vote. All right, you're checking your Canadian.
Yep.
Got Jerry.
Yeah, we got Jerry, and the rest.
AFS, Krista, will reflect your change in the account.
Just real quick, Halibut Coalition did vote yes on that. Yeah, it showed up as red. No.
CGO as well, and it isn't reflecting the vote correctly.
But it's not possible to.
Well, I think it's unlikely. So, okay, so your vote should be a yes for Halibut Coalition. CGO's vote should be a yes. Is that right? Okay, so 2 more yeses on the US side. Okay, good.
Yeah, Linda, this is CHN. Mine's an abstention. Sorry. Bumped the wrong one.
Who's that?
Council Haida Nation.
Oh.
It says it's yes, but it's supposed to be an abstention.
Oh, okay, we have another one that's wrong.
Yeah.
They,
What was the height?
was it, which one?
Abstention.
No, Haida Nation.
Yeah, Council Haida Nation, CHN.
CHN,
So what was the change?
Abstain.
to abstain. Okay, I think we're close. Okay, so abstentions carry it for Canada and passes for US. Okay, we're ready to move to the next proposal when you're ready.
Moving to proposal C2, we have, this is a proposal from Robert Hogness and proposes 3-year pilot program authorizing limited retention of legal size Pacific halibut caught incidentally as baycatch outside the Pacific halibut commercial fishing period in year-round hook and line and trap groundfish fisheries in IPHC regulatory areas 2B. Thank you.
Have a motion?
Can I make a motion on my proposal or?
Yes,
Okay.
you certainly can.
Okay, can I make a motion to allow the retention of legal size halibut to be caught incidentally in existing year-round hook and line and trap fisheries targeting other groundfish species, not halibut, of up to a maximum of 2% of Canada's commercial TAC.
Oh,
And
we
then
didn't take
if I can
action.
get a second,
We
I
just
will
did something
speak
else.
to that.
No, we don't. We're not going to vote. We're just not going to take it up.
Not take action.
I don't think so. Well, if people want to, we can. Let's deal with this one. Okay. It's been moved and seconded. Sorry, do you want to speak to it? We'll come back to that C1 in a second, okay? Go ahead.
I didn't realize I wouldn't be able to speak to it unless I signed up for public comments at the opening, so bear with me, you'll have to listen to my stuff. Thank you for taking the time to consider my regulatory proposal for a 3-year pilot to allow for limited retention of legal size halibut caught incidentally during the closed period, i.e. early December to early March, in existing year-round hook and line and trap fisheries targeting other groundfish species, not halibut, in Canadian waters, IPHC regulatory area 2B. There are multiple reasons why I'm bringing this regulatory proposal forward, and I'd like to use this opportunity to highlight a few of them. First, I'd like to highlight, based on the findings of the IPHC Secretariat, that there is no conservation or biological risk associated with this regulatory proposal. In 2020, the IPHC Secretariat staff prepared a paper on this, and in 2025, the IPHC Secretariat staff prepared an information paper, Info 4, for both of which concluded that there is no biological or conservation impediment to retaining halibut during the closed period. As per Canadian groundfish conditions of license, hook and line and trap groundfish vessels must acquire sufficient individual quota of halibut to cover the fishing mortality associated with any catch of halibut. This requirement creates the incentive for vessels to fish responsibly and minimize their incidental catch of halibut. However, during the closed period, it is also imposing a penalty on these vessels, as they must also incur a cost, but also must release those halibut. This is creating hardship, particularly in the smaller fishing operations targeting rockfish. The reason I'm proposing for a maximum of 2% of the commercial TAC, if available after the closure of the directed fishery for this proposal, is that given what we have seen in our fisheries, it becomes very hard to ensure availability amongst the different fleets and fishing vessels with an extremely small amount of quota. The proposed maximum 2% of the TAC would give Canada the flexibility to be able to retain legal size halibut that may be caught as harvesters prosecute their directed fisheries, but still making sure that the halibut that is being caught remains non-directed and non-targeted. The levels of discards reviewed in the IPHC 2025 info paper were only over a 3-year period, 2022 to 2024, and it may be more appropriate to consider looking at a longer time frame to be more accurately reflect past participation in the non-halibut hook and line and trap fisheries during the closed period. Several management measures would be applied to ensure that this pilot would not exceed the proposed maximum 2% of the Canadian halibut TAC and to make sure that the catch of halibut remains incidental. One management measure that would be applied is a trip limit. This would limit the amount of halibut that could be landed by a vessel for each trip. While the amounts for a trip limit still need to be discussed between the commercial sector and DFO, it could be somewhere between 500 and 1,000 pounds per trip. For example, retaining just 25 halibut on a trip at 21-pound average weight would total 525 pounds. That is not very much poundage if you happen to accidentally run into halibut while targeting other groundfish species. The purpose of this proposal is to maintain the management measures in place that create the incentive for non-halibut hook and line and trap groundfish vessels to fish responsibly and to minimize their incidental catch of legal size halibut, while giving them the ability to avoid or minimize penalties provided they conduct their fishing operations in a responsible manner. The proposal should also help minimize discard mortality and wastage of legal size halibut. A 3-year pilot program will allow for a full evaluation of the trial, with analysis and review being conducted both in season and post-season each year. If the evaluation indicates that the pilot is not performing as intended, it would be modified to address the identified concerns or halted. The commercial sector and DFO would work collaboratively throughout the pilot period to evaluate the progress and make any changes required. All of Canada's Pacific commercial groundfish fisheries have 100% at sea and 100% dockside monitoring requirements, as well as several additional management measures in the form of caps to ensure the sustainability and equitable harvest of each stock. These measures include specific caps, area-specific caps, landing caps, vessel caps, and trip limits. These caps limit the amount of quota that can be transferred between fishing sectors, the amount of quota that can be permanently or temporarily held by license, the amount of non-directed catch that can be retained landed in directed fisheries, and the amount of catch that can be landed of a given species for each trip. As you can see, Canada has many ways to make sure that this pilot remains what is being proposed: a limited incidental catch retention during the closed period in existing year-round hook and line and trap commercial fisheries targeting other groundfish species, not halibut. The purpose of this proposal is to continue to encourage responsible and sustainable fishing practices without participants being penalized for being responsible. Thank you. I'll take any questions.
Yeah, thanks for that. Go ahead, Rebecca.
Yeah, thanks. I just want to make sure I understand. So halibut that are caught in those other fisheries outside of the open halibut season right now are discarded?
Yeah, we have to release them. So like if you're out on a sablefish trip, you have to release any halibut that is caught because it's closed. You're not allowed to retain those fish. But we're also penalized because science has determined that there's a 16% mortality attributed to halibut through the release process. The weight is determined to be 21 pounds. So if you catch 2,000 pounds of halibut, you have to come up with 320 pounds of individual vessel quota. And you have to lease that, which is, it doesn't sound like a lot, but it's like 1,800, would be almost two grand to lease that. And that's an expense that's basically coming right off the top and it's coming out of guys' pockets. So with our monitoring costs going up, our fuel costs, gear, bait, I mean, you guys are all facing the same stuff that we're facing. It's just money coming out of our guys' pockets. And again, most of these guys are small vessels We're not bringing a lot of poundage in, 500 pounds. And 2% of our quota is approximately 77,500 pounds. And you break that down into a 500-pound trip limit, that's 155 trips, which works out to about 50 trips per month for the closed periods. So that's 3 months of trips. And that has to be split amongst not only the sablefish, the outside ZN, and the inside ZN. So we have 3 sectors that need to be, so it's not a lot of fish to go around. And that's why I'm asking for 2%, because if you start going down, it kind of defeats the purpose to a certain extent. I mean, we might not need that much, but again, this is brand new, this is a pilot. I don't want to see this being abused, and I just want to try and make it so that if somebody runs into some fish while fishing rockfish or sablefish, that they're not unfairly penalized.
All right, and then again, just to make sure I understand, so the proposal would allow those halibut to be retained and sold at any time during the year, or whenever any of those fisheries are open that catch the halibut incidentally?
Yeah, as it stands, sablefish and rockfish licensed vessels are open year-round. So from February 20th or February 21st to February 20th every year. So that's the year dates. So they're already open, they're already catching the fish, and this is just a way to minimize the cost associated with incidentally catching halibut. And I mean, we all know that you try and avoid fish, but sometimes you happen to run into fish. I mean, the very first time I took my boat out to do a rockfish trip, I got 2,000 pounds of rockfish and 2,000 pounds of halibut. Fortunately, it was during the opening, like when it was open. So, but it's still, we have caps that you have to catch so much rockfish to account for so much halibut. So it's not like that ate up about a third of what I was allowed to catch in terms of halibut without catching a significant amount of rockfish. So it's trying to maintain bycatch and is as incidental and trying to encourage responsible fishing practices.
Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, thank you. I was curious, could you tell us a little bit more about what other rules exist for those rockfish and sablefish fisheries? So for example, are there vessel size limits, gear limits, any particular area closures, or just give us a bit of a profile of that fishery so we can imagine who will be doing this?
So there's a limited license entry, so it's not an expanding fishery. There are already licenses. There's not any more licenses that are being issued. Everything in Canada is individual vessel quota for all groundfish species, whether it's skate, dogfish, rockfish, lingcod, or halibut. It's all quota, and we use that quota to stay within our total allowable catch. I mean, you can go on DFO's website and see what the current catches are. I mean, we're leaving quite a bit of fish in the water, and one of those reasons is, as I'm sure you guys know, the price of rockfish is quite low for certain species of rockfish, and you need to catch quite a bit of volume. So if you encounter like 2,000 pounds of halibut by mistake, just trying to avoid it, but it happens, that's a 2,000 pounds so that's three. It's a significant amount of money that's coming out of a guy's pocket. I can't speak for how this split up amongst everybody else, but that would be about $500 out of my guys' pockets. So I mean, it's not a lot of money, but if there's no biological or conservation concern, that is still money out of people's pockets that are trying to make a living.
I'm just going to ask one question and then go to Ken. Do you have a sense of where the fish will be marketed? Will it be domestically marketed, or do you expect it to be exported from Canada into the U.S.?
Given the fact that your trip limits are about 500 pounds, it's probably going to be absorbed locally. The sablefish, it's frozen, so there won't be any real direct competition. The rockfish, depending on what species of rockfish they're fishing for, whether it's like a yellow eye and quillback, that'll be generally a live fishery. So they would probably keep those halibut as live, which is a market I don't think we really compete in. There's no competition. And the live stuff that is coming in, I mean, unless 70 boats come in with 500 pounds, I don't think you're going to see. I mean, the local market should absorb everything.
Okay,
And that's
thank
what
you.
I asked my processors, and that's kind of what they felt.
I think that's an important piece for the US side to know. Ken, go ahead.
I presently participate in the live rock cod fishery and quillback. And to be clear, that halibut is worth more money iced than it is live. So nobody brings it in live. They're also difficult to handle, and they're hard on your live fish. It's a very limited number of boats that actually participate in that. The market for live quillback on that is quite small. It's an Asian market in downtown Toronto, and there is actually some moved as far as in Vancouver, I mean, and there is a small amount that gets moved in the summertime to Toronto. But you can imagine what it's like driving across Canada in the middle of winter. So it doesn't happen then. Most of the boats that are participating in that fishery during the close time are actually the younger people in our fishery. I mean, I have myself no intention of going out at that time of the year. There's a limited amount of fish available, so to speak. So the rules are designed so it gets the available amount of fish can be accessed by the boats that use them. It's not like one person can access all the fish. In the wintertime, some boats are actually jigging the fish, and they actually get no halibut. They're jigging in right on the beach. And a lot of times in the wintertime, the same thing, because of the weather conditions, the odd person who long lines they're usually on the inside. And they are in shallow water. I mean, you rarely get a quillback over, 50 fathoms. Usually you're fishing in the 10 to 20 fathom range. So the ability to abuse the system is controlled by a group of fishermen, basically, that have what we call a CIC committee, which sets the limits of what you can do and what you can't do. And it will not be designed that it incentivizes somebody to go out, and that's what Robert basically says. It's a small amount of fish. It's what it is really meant for, is to improve the economics for those people, which are mostly the younger people in the fishery.
Okay, go ahead. I'm just getting a little worried about the time because we do have to present the conference board report to the commissioners, if I'm right, today at 3:30. We still have some more proposals to get through. So let's really keep comments succinct and really necessary for the decision in front of us, okay? Okay, go ahead, and then I have two people online, Kathy and Russell.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate the US's concern here. I think everyone can kind of support the spirit of what we're trying to do here, where we're just trying to make sure people aren't penalized for just trying to participate in the directed fisheries that they're involved in. What we're concerned about, and I'm sure you guys are concerned about too, is abuse of this. And that's why we're trying to put these trip limits in place. A large portion of our sablefish fleet is allowed to freeze at sea. So initially when we were talking about this, we figured trip limits is probably the best way to avoid exploitation. The rockfish fleet is all very small boats. The larger vessels are those sablefish boats who are freezing at sea generally, because it just makes more sense economically. They will likely still incur extra expenses having to release these halibut after they hit those caps on these longer trips that they're allowed to do. We don't see that. I don't see a way of avoiding that. That's unfortunate. They're going to have to continue to incur that loss. But really, who we're trying to support here is those small vessels with small catches where margins are already very tight. So that's why I was really in support of these trip limits, just as a way to avoid any sort of abuse of this kind of relief of the added expense.
Okay, I think Kathy online and then Russell.
So my question is, you're talking about trip limits. Are you seeing those trip limits as part of this IPHC regulatory proposal, or are you thinking that's a domestic regulation that we don't necessarily see gets implemented? In other words, I'm trying to decipher what I'm going to see in a regulation if this was to pass, and what is going to be a domestic regulation that might or might not get passed.
Okay, I'll do my best to answer that. So it's going to be 2% of Canada's TAC. That's what you're asking. It will be a domestic issue on how we manage our fishery. Once you, we kind of have to get authorization from you to figure out how much available quota that we can take to our advisory boards to figure out how the best way to divvy that up. And then once that is divvied up, then that'll be in the integrated fisheries management plan. So that's one of the reasons why you're not seeing it as a contracting party proposal, is because you kind of have, you can't put the cart before the horse, so to speak. So we need to know what's an acceptable limit for you guys. I'm proposing a 2% because I feel that is reasonable, and it'll allow us enough flexibility to ensure that we can have enough trips per month for guys that want to go out and fish. And again, once we have a number that we can work with, and of course that number will go up and down. So if Canada's TAC goes down, that'll be less trips. So again, it's just, but those won't be in place until we know what we can deal with, and then that'll go to the advisory boards, that'll get split up, and then that'll go into the integrated fisheries management plan.
Yeah, Kathy, so just some clarification from the Secretariat. So the reg change, the IFQ reg change could speak to the 2%, and the retention period, the trip limits is the contracting party, their regulatory system. So what would actually appear, what would actually be changed in the IPHC regs would speak to the retention allowance, the period for retention, which is the current non-retention period or whatever that is set each year, and then that 2% of Canada's allocation.
No, that'd be commercial, not
Commercial allocation,
so
sorry.
It'd be less than 2%.
Right, thanks. Okay, Russell.
All I want to say is strongly support this. I don't think I can explain any better than those guys have, so just strongly support it. Thank you.
Thanks for that. Malcolm?
Yep. Yeah, thank you for the proposal. I'm also going to support this. I think I see a fisherman trying to find a solution to a problem and can empathize with that. And so I will be supporting the motion. Thank you.
Buck?
Yeah, thank you. I also think this is a really, I know there's counterpoints to this, and we don't have to go deep into it, but I don't see unfair advantage in the market because of the amounts we're talking about. I think you kind of thought of everything, and I know you brought this last year, and it's been revised. And I'd also just note that we're not on an even playing field because Canada has a much better monitoring and not really enforcement, but just how you account for your fisheries is kind of, I'd say we would like to emulate that. We're just not in that position to quickly follow, but it would provide some guidance to what's possible. And I think all of us agree that just discards and whether you have to pay for them or not is just, we'd like to be completely integrated like you are. And this is just one small step closer to that. And I know there's counterpoints and maybe people want to speak to them, but I'm going to support this.
Okay, anything else? Are we ready to vote?
Madam Chair, just really quickly, the folks that I represent have advocated for better bycatch utilization for over 40 years. And I see this as a small step. Even if the discard mortality is only 18%, that's 18% of halibut that are being retained or better used than would otherwise happen, Madam Chair. The precedent where the monetization benefit flows only to the fishermen, I think is of some concern, but the limitation on 2% allays those concerns for me. So I appreciate you bringing the proposal forward. I'll strongly support it. I think the 3-year review gives opportunity for adjustments or mitigates in some ways concern people would have for this proposal. So thank you, Madam Chair, but I'll be supporting the proposal.
Thank you, Duncan. Okay, I think we're ready to vote on proposal C2. About the last vote? Why don't you wait? Okay, we're opening the vote. And if you're online and having trouble, let us know your vote.
Larry Christensen for Canada. I'm voting in favor of this.
Thank you. Kathy, are you able to vote, or do you want to give us your vote?
I'm trying to figure out my vote.
Oh, okay.
I like the idea. I like that they're trying to deal with bycatch.
Okay, well, you don't need to explain it. Just vote when you're ready.
Yeah, Linda, Council Haida Nation and in support, yes.
Thank you, we got that. And SCF is? Missing my. Oh, okay, she's out of the room. Okay, I think we're ready to close the vote.
Cool.
Please verify if there are any modifications or anything is reflected incorrectly.
Everybody's vote showing up how they want it to. We've had a few problems lately, so. Okay. I'm going to record that. And then I think we wanted to clarify that on the last vote, there was a clicker issue. And so.
Yes, I would just like to clarify on the previous vote, there was a one clicker issue of, and that would be one Canadian vote that would be reflected now as abstention versus no. And this way the motion would pass on. So yeah, apologies for there's
the issue with the clicker, but will reflect correctly. We verified that vote will reflect that correctly in the record.
Okay, and while that vote is getting recorded, I just want to note that we didn't take any specific or action on C1 on that proposal. There was an action offered as a substitute to taking up the proposal and voting yes or no on that one fish unguided limit. If anybody wants to, I want to make sure you're listening down there. I'm forgetting. Yeah, okay. If anybody wants to take up that proposal specifically to vote it up or down, I think C1 and C3 are addressing pretty much the same issue. We can, or we can just reflect that the conference board didn't take them up. Instead, we passed a different motion saying we're referring this proposal to the North Pacific Council. So I just had someone raise a concern about that. If anybody at this time wants to take up C1, now's your chance to address that proposal specifically, other than how we have. Great, okay, all right. Then I think similarly, C3, people have seen it. It's also calling for a one fish limit only in a place where there is economic or biological, socioeconomic data to support that. I think well, I'll leave it up to you. If anybody wants to offer another motion relative to that proposal, that's where we are now.
Madam Chair, I would move to take no action on proposal C3.
We got a second on that? Okay. I don't know, do you want to speak to that? I don't know that we need to speak to a no action motion. Great. Okay, thanks. All right, then I think we can move to, I'll let you speak to it.
We may want to have a vote for the record, Madam Chair. Maybe the no action motion passed unanimously.
I assumed. Okay, I probably should do that. Is there any objection to Duncan's motion? Thank you.
That concludes the regulatory proposals. We went through all regulatory proposals we have currently for the decision by the Commission at this annual meeting. So thank you for your input to those regulatory proposals. Thank you.
Okay, all right. I guess we're going to try and plow through to finish, and then we can work on the report while you guys get a break. So we finished regulatory proposals. We are on incidental catch bycatch. If anybody has anything they want to bring forward under that agenda item. Anybody online? Nothing? Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that the conference board requests the MSAB look at different bycatch scenarios in Region 4 at sort of current levels. If levels were 75%, we're 50%, and we're 25%, and we're 0, and thus showing what the impact would be on the stock and on TCE-wise.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded by Buck. We want to put the language up? Yes. So MSAB look at bycatch scenarios in Area 4 or Region 4.
At current levels, 75% of current levels, 50% of current levels, 25% of current levels, and 0%. And that way you'll see the impact of, should show the impact of bycatch on the stock. Yeah, and that should be 032 bycatch and U26 bycatch. When I say bycatch, I'm encompassing both of them.
Okay.
Can I get the clarification? I just
you
heard some
clarify a little bit?
percentages, if you would like me to write that down.
Well, just at sort of current levels, or, recent historical levels, I guess would maybe be the better term. 75% of recent historical levels, 50%, 25%, and 0%.
So could I ask a clarifying question?
Okay, but you're specific to Region 4. You're not asking for this across any other regions.
No, just Region 4.
Okay.
Could I ask a question?
Go ahead, Buck.
So Chris, is the result to look for a response within Area 4 to spawning biomass or is it a potential response at different levels that could be predicted by the MSAB across the range of the stock, or maybe you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, thanks, Buck. No, the intent of this is the way the current operating model is now, it would be what the implications were for the coast-wide stock. It would not, at least, again, I could be wrong, but I don't think we'd get into what it means in each area. We might be able to in the future. But I think this should give a sense as we're all sitting around here at the table trying to figure out how to prevent the stock from continuing to decline. There are things outside our control, which is why this is called a scenario in MSE language. So management procedure is things you can control. Scenario is things you can't control. Like Dr. Hicks came in and gave us a scenario on different productivity levels. And this would just be a scenario of different bycatch levels, just to see what implications that is having for the biomass.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah. I was just curious why you didn't include Area 3 and maybe Area 2 as well. That's like a bycatch across the entire range and the impacts it has on the stock.
I just looked at Area 4 simply because when I look at the numbers, it's like in 4 CD&E, I think 80% of the mortalities last year in 4 CD&E was from the non-directed mortality, if I'm remembering correctly. So I'm just saying that's a big number there compared to what the directed fishery is taking. But this is one of these things you could look at. You could run it for Area 3, and that's the power of the operating model. You can do a whole bunch of stuff with it, right? So I don't want to say I'm opposed to that. That's why I put Region 4 up.
You want to offer an amendment or another question? Go ahead.
I guess I'm just curious if it might be considered differently to include the other areas as well.
Yeah, I could accept a friendly amendment to do that, to include each, like regulatory Area 3, regulatory.
Bioregion.
Bioregion, yeah, sorry. Biological region 4, 3. I just think what we want to do is we want to make sure we can isolate them, right? And not just say, oh, bycatch this. I think bycatch in general, that's a good question, but then you could say this, you could break it down and say this is what the impacts are, so yeah.
Okay, so if I understood, that was an accepted friendly to look at U32, O32 bycatch at historic levels, and then with these options, 75, 50, 25 by the MSAB across Region 2, 3, and 4. B is part of 4. That's everybody. Yeah.
It's bioregion, right?
I didn't leave anybody out.
We normally do because they're 4B separate.
Okay. So you're saying adding, sorry, you're not using your mic, but you're saying add, make sure 4B is included.
Yeah, I mean, like,
There, we got it.
yeah, so when we're at MSAB, there's 4 bioregions and 4B is the separate, I
Great.
guess.
Okay, so we'll include 4B, and the idea is that we'd be able to look at individually sort of that effect by region. Okay, and that's a friendly. And got that reflected in the motion. Okay, any other questions, comments? Go ahead, Malcolm, and then Jeff.
Okay, yep, thank you. Okay, yeah, so I had a question to the maker of the motion. Well, I guess it's actually to any other MSAB members, but yesterday there was a concern expressed with that another motion that we worked on, that the MSAB was already tasked with too many, had too much stuff to work through already. You know, it's going to be hard to look at spawning biomass by region. So how would you address the priority of this issue as opposed to that? And then I have one other follow-up to that too, please.
Well, I think first of all, this is looking at the implications of the coastwide. It's not dividing it out into what the implications are by region, by region, by region. This is just what the implications of the coastwide. So the model is already set up to answer that question. I do take your point, though, that yes, there could be, somebody can look and say, well, what are the priorities? But one of the things is, I think, is we're all struggling around the room here, you know, and Dr. Hicks brought in those graphs, which I hope everyone had a chance to look at. And we're trying to make these tough decisions in here about what cuts we need to take or don't need to take, or how we keep the biomass above a certain level. And we're not considering, you know, we're considering, okay, what does productivity mean? We're not considering what some of these other implications are. And I think that's a big part of the puzzle. And I'd like to be able to, you know, have some evidence or fact to speak to it. Might turn out we run this and it shows no, there's no big impact at all. And then, okay, well, but at least we'll know.
And so I think with that other proposal, we left it up to the commissioners to assign priority. And is that your intent here? You haven't said it's not a priority or is. And we
Yeah, I think it's, again, it should probably be worded the same way, like ask commissioners, whatever that front wording is, because really, ultimately, it's the commissioners who are going to decide the work plan. So we probably should amend that. I misspoke, and I should have included that wording in the front.
Oh, sure, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, and then the second part of my question was, are you intending to use this as to ask for some bycatch mitigation between the contracting parties?
Well, I think first of all is it would give some evidence as to what's actually happening. Like we've sat around this room since I've been here and talking about bycatch and it's impacting the resource. We finally have a tool that can tell us, at least give us a sense of what that impact is, if any, and the implications and on the coastwide stock. And I think it would we'd be able to have more of an evidence-based discussion on the issue, rather than us just waving our hands around in the air, right? And that's why we've got this tool. And like I said, my personal view is, and I said it before, is I think the MSC process can be a very powerful and informative tool, and I don't think we're using it as effectively as we could. And I know I'm still wrapping my head around it. I still go to meetings and I'm like, oh yeah, I didn't realize that. It's not easy, it takes time, but I encourage you all to try to give it its due and give it its time. Try and look at it, talk to Dr. Hicks. He's talked about setting up some sessions if people want to talk through it. I talk through it with my stakeholders. I try and make my own graphs, which sometimes I know Dr. Hicks is rolling his eyes at, but I'm trying to put it in a way that I can explain it, because I'm not a scientist, right? I'm not a scientist. I can understand it and I can help my members understand it. So it takes time. It takes time, but to get your intent is I'm looking to be able to have an evidence-based discussion going forward.
Thank you.
Jeff, did you have a question?
Yeah, just wondering if this includes bycatch from all sectors, Chris, or is this bycatch from any specific sector? Right across from it.
Oh, sorry. Well, I think when we're talking, and again, I'm not completely familiar with what's happening up in Alaska, but the focus, at least the discussion around here, has been the trawl bycatch in the trawl fisheries. So, if we'd like to focus it to say incidental or the non-directed catch from, we could focus it on the trawl fishers if you'd like. That's really what the discussion's always been about historically.
Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, so I would like to be able to support this because I generally believe that more information is good. I'm struggling right now, though, because we've had several motions put forth by the U.S. side this morning and yesterday requesting more information from the Secretariat. And those were voted down by the Canadian side because, fear that it could be used against you in an allocation decision. And it just gives me pause, and I'm struggling with this because I would like to live in a world where both sides support more information, and we can then all look at these things together. So I don't really have much more to say than that.
Go ahead, Chris.
Sorry, I don't like the last part of the sentence there. I think what we would have is the conference board, whatever wording we used about like request the commission or ask the commission, what did we put in that motion that came up from the front part of it about does anybody have it handy? I'm sorry.
I think I'd have to go back in the minutes and whether we were clear or.
Well, we had it written up there, so it was there, and it was something about this conference board requests the commission or recommend the conference board recommend the commission ask the MSM or. I thought that wording was better, and I would take out while also noting there may be higher priorities. Yeah, and I would take out the last bit. Ultimately, the commission's going to decide the priorities.
I have a question for maker of the motion.
Okay, so the inference is that the commission will set the priorities and we'll treat both those motions the same way. And this is the language from that other, what you have here.
Yes, so I was trying to reflect.
Yes. Okay, great. Okay. Okay, somebody
Quick
was.
question.
Yeah, Garrett?
Yeah. Yeah, it kind of would echo that, I think more information is better, but didn't we do something like this, like make a request like this maybe 6-7 years ago? And then if I'm not mistaken, that ended up resulting in the information that was used to calculate the U-26 mitigation. I would support having this information in theory, but if it's just going to be utilized as ammunition next year when you're going to come here and say, well, you guys all supported this and there's a real impact. Of course, there's impact of bycatch. Those fish are being killed and all areas are not getting an opportunity to utilize fish that aren't taken in directed fisheries. So I'm very hesitant and will not be supporting this as it's worded. Thank you.
Chris.
Just to clarify, the work that was done it ended up being used in the 2019 agreement. That was actually not done through the operating model. That was some work Dr. Stewart did. I don't know if you remember the paper. I can't remember the paper number, but it looked at the implications of U-26 bycatch down the regulatory area chain. So that was a different analysis than what we're asking for here. Here we're asking for the operating model to basically take simulation. What are the simulations at different levels of bycatch? What are the implications? Thanks.
Go ahead, Brian.
Thank you. I guess I'm wondering, it just says recent historical levels, and that seems a little bit vague to me, given some changes we've had in recent times in markets, also in ways that we manage PSC use and trawl bycatch and other bycatch for that matter. I'm wondering what are you looking for here?
Well, it's a good question. I'm not as familiar with it as probably on the US side, what would be an appropriate period to look at. I always say, I use the term recent. I don't like ever using 1 year. So that's why I'm saying sort of a time period. I don't know what that appropriate time period would be. It could be, is it 10 years? Is it 5 years? Is it 20 years? I don't know. I think those are some, you could just take out the recent, say, historical levels, and then that would leave it up to, if it does go forward to MSAP to determine what the periods make sense. I don't have a sense. I guess the question is what periods make sense. I would say the US side would probably have a better indication saying, look, this is normal. These would be the ones we want to look at, but that's also the reason why I'm looking for 100%, 70%, 50. That gives you different levels, right? It's just whether the question is, are you starting from a range at the top that makes sense? And I don't know the answer to that. So I'm willing to take out recent if that makes more sense to the US side.
I think that's okay. I think without, well, I guess I have some other issues here, but without seeing some real thought and maybe development on what the reference points for this would be, I don't think that I can support it.
So if I could ask, so I assume it would be up to the MSAB to develop objectives for this and like all of that is what you're assigning, because I don't know what this is evaluated against at this point. So just clarification on
Okay,
that.
so just so I'm clear, there's no change to the objectives, right? The objectives would not change. The management procedures would not change. All that would change is you would look at a scenario just like we looked at normal productivity and low productivity. That's all that would change. And it would be able to show what is the impact bycatch is having on the coast-wide biomass projected out and what it's showing on, what the impact it's having on TCEY. We're not changing objective. There's no different reference points, none of that. All that stays the same.
Anybody else? Go ahead.
I'm not that familiar with how the MSC process works, but would they be able to then, I mean, so if you took the bycatch and looked at it, if there wasn't bycatch during a certain year, it would have been replaced. The commercial fishery in the next year would have been had a higher limit. So would it take that into effect that that's a possible scenario that would happen? Or?
It would show the implications on the biomass, the spawning biomass, and it would show the implications for what the TCEY coastwide would be.
I think the answer to your question is yes. I mean, it would move that fish into the TCY if it wasn't taken as bycatch. Okay, any other questions on this motion? Comments on the motion? Rebecca?
Yeah, just a follow-up question on Malcolm's question. So, and Malcolm can certainly correct me if I got this wrong. I thought what Malcolm was asking was if you say in your projection, you said 50% less bycatch, those fish would still be caught. They would be caught in the directed fishery the next year. So, and this may be exactly what was just said. So is the model projecting, is the point that there's less mortality, which I guess I'm not sure that's true if you're just substituting directed fishery for bycatch fishery, or is it something else? But I do understand your point that if it's the impact on the TCEY, I just want to make sure that the mortality is still captured, because either way there's going to be mortality. I don't know if hope that makes sense.
No, it will, my understanding of the model, again, I'm not a scientist, I don't profess to completely understand everything that goes into the operating model, but this would take that into account. I mean, not for U26, obviously, the U32, because that's not harvestable, but it would take that into account, and it would basically look at, okay, what are the implications of this? Again, like, I mean, the model, it's not going to say like, oh, this is exactly it. It would just give us a sense of how the different things compare. If there's if it shows any difference at all, I don't know.
Okay. Robert, do you have a comment?
Yeah, I do. And I think you guys are thinking that this is short term. This is looking out over, like Dr. Hicks says, like 60, 70 years. What are the implications of the stock in the future? This is we're not proposing to use this as a hammer to be like, oh, you guys owe us 1 million more pounds or something like that. It's what is going to happen to the stock if you reduce your trawl bycatch by 100%, 75%, 50, like, or nothing. And what are those implications to the stock in the long term? And it's not really looking at what's going to happen in the next 2 or 3 years. I mean, it does sort of, but not like the way the models are run. It's projected over the long term.
Okay, I have one more over here, and then we'll go to you, Brian. Go ahead.
Yeah, I guess I would like to speak in favor of the motion, just being, information is power, and I think the people in the room here understand that we're talking about interception of little pumpkin seed fish that could grow up and feed our fishery for both countries into the future. I'm not sure what the political landscape is, but I feel like while you guys see there might be a bit of a risk in this information being weaponized, could that not be overweighed by the ability for you to take this to like your legislature and your people and your residents of Alaska as a tool to show the potential, if it shows loss, be able to take it to the population and present what they're losing by allowing these fisheries to continue on in the way they are today. I don't know, maybe just some good faith around the room that information is power, and we've got some problems in this fishery, and it's starting to become apparent that we can't fix it in the room with our behavior. The environment has to change, and bycatch could certainly be something right now that's hidden within the environment. And if we can delineate those two effects and show that it's having a major impact on the future of this stuff, I think it'd be powerful information. And area 2, I think it'd be good information for us to have as well. We could take that to our population. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. I'm going to just remind everybody, we have to present this report at 3:30. We still have to write it and have you review it. So if Brian, I'll take you as the last one, then we're going to vote.
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand whatever the implications of this study would be. And to be honest, Chris, you supporting it makes me wary, especially when I hear someone say information is power. We were asking for some information that you say isn't going to influence your, your claim for your national share or what you feel like the different regulatory areas should be at. You said it wouldn't have any influence on your stance as a country, but information is power, and we were interested in having a discussion. And so the fact that you want this, just I don't know what I think about that.
I withdraw the motion. This is ridiculous.
Motion's withdrawn. Okay, Forrest?
Yes, Madam Chair, a motion that I don't think will take a lot of time.
Where are you been all day?
Yeah, right. Hello? Yeah, no,
Is
go
this,
ahead. Go for
this
it,
wasn't
Forrest.
open time for us to make motions?
Yes.
Am I missing something?
You're not out of order, but that we're just responding to, it won't take a lot of time, but
Oh,
go ahead.
I see that part. Yeah, Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion that the IPHC use 3-digit calculations for their TCEYs and divisions in the table. They don't have to visualize them, I guess, as long as they accept them. And with a second, I can speak to it.
Second.
Okay. Yeah, we need to get it in writing, but been moved and seconded. So if it's easy to send, if you have it written down. So 3-digit calculations doesn't have to be reflected in documents, but they should have it somewhere. Is that?
How about just the IPHC use 3-digit calculations in its TCEYs? And
3-digit, and it's TCY, sorry, I didn't hear the last word.
TCEYs and sector and sector allocations.
Can I clarify? So how about TCUIs and FCUIs?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
TCEYs and FCEYs. FCEYs are sector allocations.
What and 3 decimal places is what I was meaning, and Kim caught that because we already use. Yeah, thank you. And as long as it applies to sector allocations, that and TCYs and TCYs, FCYs, and sector allocations. Sorry, this was something that like literally came up within the last half hour, so we're scrambling a little.
Okay. I mean, I think FCEYs carry sector allocations, but we'll put it all
Maybe.
in there for now.
It's possible. I just want to make sure that.
Clarity.
Or we can
Okay.
even just say sector allocations, and that probably covers everything, because once you get down to that level. Okay.
Why don't you speak to it briefly?
Yes, briefly. So this has the ability, when they round from the ADF&G stats to IPHC stats, it has the ability to shave off 40,000 pounds of the charter allocation. And for instance, that happens to move us an inch or more. It can move us 2 inches. So it's so finite, and we're so sensitive to that. And frankly, it can work the other way, but in all reality, we have the allocation to do one thing and we actually get something else. And this would correct that.
We have a question. Go ahead.
Yeah, just seeking clarification. This is for basically Alaska for you guys, or is are you looking at this as a domestic issue, or is it an international issue? I'm not really understanding why it needs to be 3 decimal places. I a little bit more information.
Okay, through the chair, I'll just repeat it. If you guys don't want a decimal place, an extra decimal place in your column, and when it gets published, that's okay with me. But for our needs, the rounding is, for instance, if you have 651,000 pounds in your allocation, with the rounding, it only gives you 650. So it shaves off 10,000 pounds there in that instance, but it could do more, up to 40,000 pounds because of the rounding. And we're so sensitive to changes in that much allocation, it actually can take us from one tier to the next on that inch stuff that we play with, or even has a capability of 2, depending. So we want to be able to capture that allocation and use it where we can't, if there's the rounding that goes in from the thousands place to the hundreds place.
Okay, so it's been proposed for FCYs, TCYs, sector allocations for both countries. I would just say, if you don't want it in your country, you can amend the motion, but I hope that's not necessary. Okay, so I think there's been a rationale added, just for clarification, make sure that captures it. Oh, no. Okay, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I just don't know what the implications of that means to our side. Like, I just, I have absolutely no idea what that means to ours. So I mean, if it's a domestic allocation issue, then that's kind of your guys' ballpark, and I'd probably be abstaining from it. But at the same time, I don't know what the implications are for Canada, so I don't know if I can support it either. So it's kind of confusing, and I just don't want to. I don't want to belabor we got a lot of shit to do, but I can't wrap my head around it right now. So I'll probably be voting against it.
Okay, thanks for that clarification. Go ahead.
Yeah, where it says the rationale for this change is that rounding may have an impact, wouldn't it be better to say may have a negative impact on the allocations?
Well, I suppose it could have an impact. Well, yeah, either way, right? I mean, I don't think Forrest is as worried about when it has a positive impact, but if it's, yeah, probably it could have an impact either way, so it's better not to add that qualifying term. It's going to have an impact on someone either way. Any other comments, questions on the motion? It sounds like we're going to have some abstentions on, oh, go ahead, Rebecca.
Yeah, I just want to make sure I understand what you spoke to is really when data is going between Fish and Game to the IPHC, or are there other instances of where this 3 decimal places is relevant?
Through the chair, there's no other place that I could conceive of it being relevant. It just puts the information on the same playing field, and it's more finite and helps us dial in on our allocation and regulation.
Okay, one more, Robert.
This could be a possible friendly amendment. I don't know, but maybe just limit it to probably 2C, 3A. Is that what you're kind of trying to deal with, or does it affect the other regulatory areas? If so, then if you put it to those 2 areas, then I mean, I'll abstain and let you guys deal with it.
Secretariat is saying that would be very complicated to try and do this only for 2 management areas. They need sort of a out to 3 digits or out to 2 in all their calculations.
Yeah, through the chair, if anybody's worried about having an extra decimal after their sector allocations or their TCY, then I guess. Okay.
I mean, I don't
There's
know.
always the option of abstaining from the vote or voting no, okay? And I think we better vote.
No, we better, yeah, sorry.
Okay, so I'm going to call for the vote on this. If you're online and need to tell us because you can't get your clicker to work, let us know.
This is Jerry Christensen. I'm abstaining.
Okay, all right. I think Buck's gone, Phil's gone, everybody else has voted. Canada's ready. Close the vote. Got everybody? Okay, close the vote.
Please make sure you verify quickly your vote. For the record, FAS is changing its vote from yes to abstain.
Thank you. Okay, so while we get that recorded, just to note that because our terms for chair and vice chair are 2 years, we don't have to take any action this year. You have us for another year. We took up 8.2 already, the discussion paper. The secretary is seeking nominations of venues for the IPHC 103, which is January 2028. Request for tender process. Wait,
So we have one no on Canada that makes it passing.
I have a question on this note. I can't. So this is for venues for the annual meeting and also looking for tenders.
No, this is tender for requests for the venues.
Got it. Okay. I have a different definition of tender. Okay, so looking for nominations of places to host the annual meeting in 2028. I've already nominated Sitka, so it's in the mix. But if other people have ideas, please let the secretariat know. Yes, it's a US meeting. And then I just want to let you all know that Dave, our executive director, Mr. Wilson, has noticed that he is very willing to accept any recommendations for how to find additional cost savings for these meetings generally, for the conference board in particular, and any other efficiencies. I think he was available to come speak to us if people wanted that, but we're running so late, I'm just going to ask you to think about it and provide any comments either to us as chairs to pass along or to him directly. Anything else that we need to cover? People feel like we have fully exhausted our Jeff.
Just real quick, just on that point, I think this meeting's a little too short for the stuff we need to do. I just say that.
Need more time.
Yeah, need more time. I think that cutting an extra day makes it really tough to get through one annual meeting, a full year's worth of work, yeah.
Okay, thanks for sharing that. Go ahead.
I'd just like to make a motion and thank both you and Jim for chairing this meeting.
I would add that a big thank you to the support staff here, as well as other members of the IPHC. We are only able to give the report at 3:30 because they're taking notes through all this.
Can I just clarify the thank you is unanimous?
Okay, thank you. And I think we're going to put it on the screen and just go through sort of section by section and see if there are edits.
I'm doing it as quickly as I can. This is just.
Has it come through to you guys yet? Not yet? Okay.
We need to try to do it speedy.
Did you resend it to me? Oh, you did, yes. Okay, I just got it.
Everybody should.
So I just got it. It took that long to go from here to here, so 10 times as long probably to get across the room. like 4 versions of it open. I'm just going to close them so I don't get.
But we'll be using the version for the publication that we use now.
I
this
know,
week,
I'm just
okay?
closing them so I have, I'm sure I'm. Okay, I think we'll start going through. You can look at the screen, the big screen, if it hasn't come through to your phone or laptop yet, okay?
Do you want me to comment on how we move, or you want to do it? Or?
So we'll just go one paragraph at a time.
Okay, so just let me, maybe you just narrate which paragraphs.
Okay. All right, so the first part, the opening of the session, I would just ask that people double check that you're listed there. If you were, I think we accredited 4 new organizations on the US side. If we have anything wrong, that doesn't look like many of them are here, but if that's correct, great. If you need to change, let us know. And then we list who we accredited. So that's all of section 1. Any requests for changes there? Okay, let's go to section 2, which is adoption of the agenda, arrangements for the session. Anything is probably pretty fine. Okay, and then section 3 is the informational sessions where we had Ian, Alan, and Ray speak to us. Give everybody a minute to read through that. Wait, 16, is that a failed motion on the decimal?
Yes,
It passed on the US side, right?
but it's fail on overall.
We usually,
Usually do it by contract.
yeah, we usually report it by
But
contract.
the numbers are by contracting party.
So then we didn't pass any motion on TCY in that case. They both failed.
Yes, but that will, we will
Or
provide
one
that in the
passed, one
executive
failed.
summary.
I think it's just the blank. I think it's the.
Then we were reporting that the US motion passed for TCYs and Canada
Well,
failed.
can we get there? Yeah.
Well, we're in this section now.
So which paragraph we should be going to now?
Okay, so looking at paragraph 16 is the one that jumped out at me, which is Forrest, your motion. We're reflecting that it failed. I think it passed on the US side. Canada largely abstained. We had 30 in favor. Use your mic. I still don't see how you come out with a fail.
Oh, I thought you said that.
What's that?
I thought that you just said that it failed. Oh,
Well-
you must have said failed on oh.
The language says that it failed, but we had 37 in favor, no, 30 in favor and 16 abstentions.
It looked like a pass to me.
It looks like a pass to me. How do you come up with fail?
It passed on the US side, it failed on the Canadian side because there's 0 to 1.
But overall, it passed. So why would we say it failed just because it failed on one side? 0 to 1.
That's how we reported all the other motions as well.
No, we report whether it overall passes or fails and how it passes or fails by country. We just need to correct that. I say it passed on the US, failed on for Canada.
So for example, if you look at the 21, this one passed because it was Canada 7-3 versus and US 31-1. So this one was.
But we report them by contracting party, that's the terms of reference.
Yes, and that's why whether it passed or failed on either side is reflected in the voting record.
I'm sorry, can you speak into the mic because we can't hear the discussion, which I think would be really helpful.
So Jim and my memory is that in the sentence, the sort of bolded, whether it passed or failed, we reflect whether something passed in one country, failed in the other, where there was a difference. And we always reflect the vote with the abstentions, yes or no's. And that's not how this is showing up in paragraph 16 relative to Forrest's motion on the decimal points, which is the first place that I noticed it anyway. And I think that should be reflected differently. Okay, so Jim and I would both like it to be reflected, and I imagine the conference board as well, that it passed on the US side and failed for Canada in that bolded part. Because it also passed overall.
We do not use pass, so it will be, we use the word recommended if it's something recommended.
Okay, so CB noted the US recommended. IPHC used 3 decimal places in calculation, blah, blah, blah. And then you can say it however you want. Canada did not support the change. The motion failed.
Is that reflecting your intention?
Yeah, and then I think you also want to say Canada's position. You want to say, or are you happy with it that way?
For this one, yeah, that's fine the way it is.
Okay.
I mean, it's
not huge. Okay, but I think it's.
So if Canada had 2 people present voting and 1 abstained, and I'm not getting, like, how can you even pass anything if Canada, if Canada fails it, how can you even ever pass anything? All they've got to do is fail it on that side and the whole motion fails. How's that a vote? Just wondering. Is it because our numbers are uneven or what?
That's why we reflect it by country, because the numbers are uneven. So,
Okay, I get that principle.
So it's
kinda.
not just a numbers game, at least at the conference board, right?
Okay, thanks.
But for that reason, I think it's important to be clear that we are reporting it by country and actually say it. Okay, anything else in that section 2 that? Okay, well, I guess it's the same.
So that will be under 14 would be also.
The same. So noted that the US recommended and USA CB and Canada CB did not support this change, or yeah.
Well, it's kind of redundant. It's reflected in the vote.
In the vote. Okay, so then just
'Cause
say
we
USA.
We didn't put forward an alternative.
Okay.
Motion.
All right, so we'll just say the USA recommended. So it's clear it's just one country that recommended.
Just for record, I will be using USA CB.
Great. Okay, so anything else jump out at people in section 3? Anything you want edited? Oh, sorry, I thought I saw a hand.
21
I think
was
that's fine.
recommended by the-
Yeah, both sides. Okay. All right, everybody have a chance to read through section 3? Yes? Okay. Fishing periods, that's probably pretty straightforward. Section 4, look okay to people? Okay, then mortality limits. So Canada's motion is reflected first, even though the US motion came first. And I'm informed that's because of protocol.
The goal in terms of making efficiencies within the conference board processor advisory report is to standardize report by both bodies, and that's why we have the same framework for both, so that they're easy contrasted between the CB and PAP. That's why we order the all the decisions and recommendations from the conference board and PAP according to the same framework.
And that is to always have Canada's first, and then.
And Canada comes first per alphabetical order.
Okay, well, Nels?
We didn't make the rules.
Yeah, thanks for explaining that. I was just confused when I first looked through there because it doesn't really reflect the pace that the conversation went at. So thanks for explaining why it's laid out in that way.
Okay, and then I think here people should read through the rationale. It's kind of the meat of it. Make sure you are comfortable with what's there. If you see anything that needs correcting, let us know. Don't worry too much about punctuation or wordsmithing, but just make sure we've really captured the points that were important to you from what was said. It should be Alaska areas, not Alaskan. It's Alaska areas, not Alaskan. If you look at grammar, that it's, you only use Alaska.
Yeah, so section 31 in US rationale under area 2C. It says weight per unit effort that is early 3 times.
Oops.
You meant to say easily 3 times?
Or nearly,
Nearly.
maybe.
Yeah.
I haven't found it yet, but 31C.
Area C under area 2C. Weight per
Nearly,
unit
yeah.
effort.
Yep, thank you. 31C, second sentence. Instead of early, it should be nearly.
Linda, this is Rebecca. I have a question. So I notice, with for 29, number 29, the Canadian rationale in support of their motion on TCEY, that's just the rationale in support, but there's no rationale for the no votes from the US. Is that standard process of how we're doing this, or can we capture why US voted no on that? Thanks.
You're right, it's missing. And we do have why Canada voted no below the US.
So my specific suggestion for inclusion, I think there's probably more than just this point, but because I think the first point under 29, somewhere in there is reference to the national share. I think for the US, we have consistently said we don't support the national share. So I think that's one of the rationale points in opposition to that motion that should be noted, because that's consistently said. It's come up several times at this meeting, and it was said during discussion. Thanks.
Yes, we should add that.
Can you hear?
Is that someone online?
Yes, there's something wrong.
Go
Can
ahead.
you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
I'd like to point out that I don't have the numbers on my, but I believe it's 29B, which is at least 50% matured. It was pointed out several times that this data is inaccurate. It's at best 10, 25% matured.
I didn't understand that. Did you guys?
28 to 25%. One in four.
Oh, 25%. Yep.
No, wrong line.
Oh,
D.
so you're not at 29B where it says a greater than 1 in 4
D.
chance.
Dog.
D. Okay. So, and what should be changed there?
It says at best 50% matured, but that has been, detail has been corrected. 10 to 25% matured.
Right. So is it 25% mature? So I think you corrected that when Chris used that in his rationale, which is why I changed it to at best, because I hadn't had a chance to check that.
Maybe Alan?
I think he's right, and I think I have those in my notes somewhere, but.
We have Alan there. You want me to verify?
Alan,
can we ask you please for a quick verification, if you could come here for a second?
No way we're ready at 3 o'clock. I'm sorry. You were trying to hide. You sort of blend with a decor here, but so yes, the percent maturity of the 2016 and 2017 year classes is the question. Are they 50% mature, or are they a fair bit less than that in 2026?
If I remember right, I think the 50% maturity was around age 11. So it would be less than 50%. In 2026, the 2016 year class would probably be
10.
between 25 and 50% mature.
So, so to say they are less than 50% mature here would be accurate? Okay. So let's
Or
say.
50% of them are not mature. Less than 50% are.
At best, 50% is correct.
Right.
At best, 50% pretty much captures it.
Yeah.
Okay, is that right?
Yeah, at best 50% are matured. Yeah.
Okay. I hope that's okay. I'm not sure who that is online,
Michael
but
Fowler.
I mean, you're right. They are less than 50% of them are mature. And we tried to capture that because in 2016, they're 1 year away from 50% being mature, so starting to be pretty close to that. Okay, and you added the paragraph about the national share.
So we were editing this one. So that's, is that something that reflects?
We also had, oh yeah, I completely missed that section. This a 5% reduction only changes.
Now, is this coming from Canada or coming from the US?
This was US. So this is the US
Okay.
rationale in opposition to Canada's motion, which what I have is only reduces the relative risk to the stock by 1%.
But you
That's
got
what
it
I have.
above your motion.
It should be below Canada's
But it's
motion.
below Canada's motion.
But it's something to US. Okay.
The USA CB, oh, right? USA, or USA
this is
consistent.
correct.
Okay. This 5% reduction reduces relative risk by 1%, I think. Forrest, you made a statement in response to, I think Chris had talked about the decision table and change to the amount of risk. I didn't quite capture what you said in response to that, but you had a statement about the degree to which this 5% reduction lowered risk. And if you have that written down or can give us that, you referred to the decision table, and that would be a good statement to capture here.
Okay, can you give me a few minutes while you move on? And
Sure.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, I mean, I think those were the rationale in opposition. We heard US doesn't support a national share. If there's anything else you want about relative to stability on the US side, I heard there were some increasing trends to the west of 3A. We could add that in.
So,
we'll
so
just
should
keep it
this say that the U.S. consistently does not support national share, or U.S. consistently does support survey stock distribution? Because I
It
think
should
what's
be,
written
does
is not correct.
Support national share. We do support surveyed stock distribution, so you got to take the not out there.
Yeah, I would say that as written,
Consistently
30
supports.
conflicts with 32.
The U.S. consistently supports survey, however, stock distribution as a basis for allocations.
And I would write in the words, and does not support
Support.
national share.
And does not support national share. And then I would say also, and the next paragraph, or next sentence, also this 5% reduction, and we're going to come back to wordsmithing on that.
But that's kind of what he said. Chris?
Relative risk to the stock by 1%. Yeah, until we come back to it. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, just looking at in paragraph 29H, I don't think I said 94%.
Right, but we updated the number because 85 was not the correct number. 94% includes the amount of the commercial catch that was harvested as gaff, which brings the commercial harvest up to 94%.
Well, then I think you need to change the wording there that said the director fishery only caught the 80 whatever percent, but when you add in the gap, it becomes 94%.
With the gaff harvest added, which is commercial catch leased to the charter
yeah.
fishery.
Okay, but I'm just saying it should reflect that then.
I mean, it's, the commercial allocation is 94% harvested.
And then the other thing is if we're looking at making things factually correct, if you go up to paragraph D, I think I erroneously said 50%, and I did say 15%, 50%, 50. I think it's actually like, that is what I said,
So
though.
we just discussed that one with Alan.
Okay.
And he said at 11 years, the 50% of the fish in a year class are mature. And so saying at most 50% or at best mature is correct. You could
Okay.
be more specific if you want, but I think you had said 50% mature. I added in at best because some were slightly less than that.
Yeah, because I think it said something like it's actually 10 to 25% or something, which is significantly different, so I did have it wrong. But if if that's sufficient for,
That's been
I just want to
Alan.
make sure I
Yeah.
did say 50%.
Alan has approved this.
Okay, all right.
Or told us it was accurate. And Forrest, just let us know when you have language. And then if anybody else in the US side, Nels, you have something else for the rationale?
Yeah, this was just going back to 29H. I don't know if before the 94% to better capture that it was both directed long line as well as gaff. If instead of only caught, you change that to utilize, I don't know if that would better capture that it was harvested, but it was from both directed sectors instead of one.
Sure. That's a good word. Okay.
So we're changing the words of people who spoke now?
Well,
I was just bringing that up.
because if we're adding in gaff.
We're going to be nitpicking this all day long, and we won't be getting this done.
Yeah, I would leave it with what I said, only caught.
Okay. Including gaff, 90, okay.
And I'm not comfortable with the wording. I would say only caught the 85% of it. And then you can put in brackets, when the gap is included, this increases to 94%.
Right, and that remaining can be rolled over to next year, so it's full utilization pretty much, but if you want that in there, we can leave it.
No, that's fine, thank you.
And then so.
Yeah, I just want to confirm 85% without gaff would be correct.
What's that? Well, okay. If there is, when Forrest has something, we can come back to the rationale that we omitted for U.S. opposition to Canada's motion. I think there was another point made that I have in my minutes about increasing trends to the west of 2C. If anybody from the stock assessment stable are increasing, if somebody wants to just write up a sentence and send it to us, that would be helpful. Or it looks like Basha's going to get it. 2C. Regulatory area 2C. So it'd be increasing survey trends to the west of regulatory area 2C.
To west from 2C?
West of is what we usually say, but. Okay, Jeff?
Yeah, sorry, I should have mentioned this when Chris had brought it up. It just seems like an H there when we're talking about area 2C specifically. The word only, I don't think I think that should be struck because the commercial allocation was 94% utilized. That's not just only implies that it's a lot less than that.
Well, if Chris wants only in there with 94%, I think I raised that, but I think he said he did.
Linda, can I suggest, if people are comfortable, that the section on the Canadian rationale remain the section on Canadian rationale? If we disagree with that, or if we have a different perspective, that we can include that in our rationale for voting no. Because if the situation were reversed and I had my rationale and then someone across the table was trying to correct it, that would be pretty frustrating. There is an opportunity to capture both points just in our own section.
I think that's largely what we do. We just were correcting the number. Okay, where are we? So anything else in Section 5.
I don't know, Forrest, if you're going to, so whatever sentence you're coming up with in the U.S. opposition to Canada's motion, I think a statement that, I think what I heard is that there was not a, maintaining status quo, those numbers was not, didn't raise any concerns about the halibut spawning stock. And then I think, and then if you have your specific risk, whatever you're drafting there. Thanks.
So we'll come back to that when Forrest has his words figured out. How about, oh, Jeff?
Yeah, thank you. We spoke to some rationale for area 4 CD&E that I think is pretty important. We also passed on some of that rationale in writing to the maker of the motion yesterday, and we're wondering if we might at least get some of that in the minutes.
Is that missing?
Yeah, I don't know that 3A and 3B spoke much to their areas, but we certainly spoke to area 4 CD&E out in the bearing.
Jeff, I might have that in my email too.
Yeah, and I can
forward that to Linda.
I can condense it real quick and just to 3 or 4 bullets if you wanted me to do that, or you can forward that one.
Yeah, I'll just forward the one you sent me.
If we
Send
could,
it to Basha.
if we could have it,
Send it.
if you have one sentence that summarizes it, we can just put it quickly. I will note that we have 20 minutes to finalize.
Okay, forward to CB support.
And I will try to make it a little bit more succinct. Not sure if I could do it in one sentence, but I'll make it very short. Thanks.
Okay, 2 sentences. We did try to really consolidate down, and all rationale will appear in the minutes, but not all rationale in the report. But we do want 1 or 2 sentences, for your area, so not to preclude that.
A quick question. Can I do the same for 4B?
Yes. If we should have a few sentences, make sure you send them to us.
Chris?
Well, we move on. I have a comment on what is now paragraph 33, I think.
So it just came to me, Mark, is that right?
Yeah, I just airdropped it to you.
All right.
And I also forwarded to CB support.
Oh, okay. Okay, it's bullets, but,
Do you want me to put 4 CD&E?
it's probably easier to put them in right now. Region 4, like the 4 CD&E trends. How about that? Those 4 bullets? Is that good enough, Jeff? That if we take the 4 bullets from 4 CD&E trends, or?
I think we're coming up with a way here to kind of summarize those into a sentence, or we
Okay,
could
great.
certainly use the bullets.
Okay.
We'll have something to your motion.
Okay.
Thank you.
It's coming. Yeah, they're shortening it. Okay, so.
And sorry, quickly, just to clarify, send that to CB support. Ms. Basha can copy it over, just as a text in an email, she can copy it over.
Sorry, I didn't get that.
Oh, just if you're sending things, send them to CB support as
Okay.
just text in an email, and Basha can quickly copy it over from
Okay.
there.
So we move to proposals in the meantime?
Yes. Just trying to give people a minute to think, but I know we don't have. Okay, so we have Forrest working on a sentence, we have Jeff working on a sentence. Let's look at regulatory proposals for everybody else.
Sorry, before we do that, I wanted to talk about paragraph 33.
33, what, sorry, what about 33?
Well, it seems to be a very abbreviated version of the points that we made about the opposition. We said more than that.
Yeah.
I would like to remind all the participants that the full record of the meeting, together with the recording of all the statements, will be available on the IPHC website shortly after the meeting. We are just providing summarized version as much as shortened as possible for the report to be presented to the commission. Mainly, keep in mind, please, that the executive summary will be the portion that will be presented to the commission. Thank you.
But if you want to give us 2 more sentences to add that summarize the opposition, please do. And we'll
Okay,
have,
I will do that.
3 sentences under each of these that provide this summary of the opposition. As we have someone working on that for the US. Okay. So proposals. Anything not look right to people there on proposals? Good. Okay. Everybody have a chance to look at the and that people see, yeah, when the ones that we didn't take up, we just are silent, we note it, and then we give our motion relative to it. Okay, and next section, the incidental catch bycatch, we really didn't, well, we have a motion made and withdrawn, that's reflected there. Other business. Notes our objection to combining the PAB and the CB. And then in section 9 is the review, and people should just make sure your name address is correct there, email address.
I can go back to add them. Can I add the other things now?
If they're ready. Okay, we have 15 minutes to showtime. I guess they just have to wait if we're not ready.
It's 3:30, but
Oh,
we need
3:30.
You gotta
Okay.
clean it up and get it.
Yeah. Okay, is anybody ready with the sentences to add? To the Canada and US opposition to each other's TCUI motions. I think that's the part. And then we have a rationale for 4B, 4C, D, and E we're waiting on.
4B, this is ended.
Is that good by 4B? I guess it was just 4C, D, and E that had, okay.
Robert?
Just looking for some clarification. This is just like a summary report that's going to be presented to the commissioners, and then there's going to be a full report of all the comments that we made, or is it how? Like, I'm just curious to how.
Yeah, this is the report that'll be presented. There's also minutes from our meeting that captures
Okay.
more completely what
Okay.
was said.
So it's a little bit different than what we used to do. Is that?
I mean, recording.
So it's condensed it down more. Is that right? Like, it's a little bit different than how we used to do the reports, where there was a lot more rationale and stuff put in there?
There is a
or-
push towards more brevity in the report, yeah.
Okay.
I guess, and I misspoke. The minutes are a recording that
Okay.
can be listened to.
Which can be printed out, right?
For clarification, there's no additional written document that would provide all this, all the things that were written or they were read to the record. They're in the recording of the meeting, so that can be listened to at any time and will be published to the IPHC website as soon as we conclude the meeting.
So it's just going to be an audio recording of what we discussed, and there's going to be no other paper that's associated with this in terms of minutes?
Correct.
Unless people want to transcribe the recording, I guess.
Can AI look into that, possibly? I mean, if you want to look up something that was said at one of these meetings in the minutes, you're going to have to listen to a whole lot of stuff. I think if we're going down this road and we're excluding a lot of rationale for certain things, we may want to look into AI transcribing the minutes into a meaningful way that we can access certain points that were made in the future. I don't know, but that's my thoughts anyways.
So if there's a place like on your proposal where I know there's a lot more that you read and is not here, we could put in, please refer to proposal, was it 2, C2? Why don't we add that? Because I know you had a lot of rationale you read, but it was largely from your proposal, right? And that is part of the written record. Why don't we add that? And yes, when we had time overnight to go through and type up everybody's rationale, we did, and the reports were getting longer and longer. So this is both a time constraint and I think an effort to make the report a little more concise.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. And it's just, again, it's like, especially for my proposition, there's some rationale why about the need is for our sector or for the rockfish and sablefish sector to have this opportunity to retain incidental bycatch in the future. So,
right. Okay, so we've linked it, and I
Okay.
think, you did speak to it very articulately, and we'll make sure that it's, so now it's linked
Okay.
in these report.
Okay,
I
thanks.
think that's a good
Appreciate
catch.
that.
Jeff?
Just letting you know that I sent you that little piece there.
To,
I sent it to IPHC conference and
Okay.
to you, Linda.
great, thank you. I got it, did you?
Sorry, Linda, can I just, the motion that I made on the floor was for Canada to have 2% of its commercial TAC. And I don't know where that's captured, because I think that's an important part of what my motion was, is 2% of commercial TAC.
Yeah, so that's in the linked proposal, right? And we
Yep.
voted in support of that
Okay,
proposal.
I just wanted to make sure that it's, like,
Yeah.
that the 2% is somewhere that can be referenced. because
Yeah,
it
yep.
is-
So I think we were clear that what would show up in regulation was the allowance to retain during the non-retention period and the 2%. And that in adopting the proposal, that will be captured.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Okay.
When
Did you
the-
get the 4CD?
Can I just provide an update? So we received the rationale for 4B, and I haven't seen yet for 4CD&E, and we
I have
also received the note from Forest that was just modified to move from we to Canada for the consistency.
It got
of the
sent to
language.
IPHC.conference instead of CB. You want me to forward it to you? CB_support?
No. CB_support 09, yeah.
We received Chris's.
They've received yours.
Maybe it's another one.
Oh, not tomorrow. Okay.
Okay, Linda?
Is that Kathy?
It was. So what time are the commissioners coming back on record to hear the CB and?
3:30.
Huh. The one schedule says 5, 15:30, 3:30. Okay. I didn't do all the math right.
24-hour time throws you. Okay, Robert?
Just curious of a way to capture some of the comments moving forward, not necessarily this meeting, but whether or not we can like prepare our comments in support or in favor of different proposals or whatever. And when we email them to you, they can be sort of put in an appendix. So it's like, and there's a link to that appendix so that it's not necessarily part of what's being spoken to. It's just like Canada opposes it, see Appendix 1, and the rationale is there. Is that a way to sort of streamline it, but still capture what we're trying to, or like trying to capture the rationale of what our positions are? I'm just asking the question because some of this stuff is important to be, and it's not necessarily about my proposal, but it's just like for the US and to kind of constrain everything into 2 or 3 sentences when we've had pretty decent discussions about a lot of things. It doesn't seem really
I think what
fair.
will get hard there is everybody would want to read and, fact check what was sent from people. It would take a long time to go through all that.
Yep.
And, we could say, as time allows, we could add all that and do all that. Clearly, we don't have time for that today, so
Yeah.
it would take restructuring how the conference board, if we do allow more time, it costs more money. There are all these pieces to consider. I don't think it's something we can resolve right now.
Yeah,
but let's-
I'm not suggesting it at any mean. I'm just like, we're going into a new format where we're trying to condense and save money but I still think that there's, a need or a want to try and capture more of the discussion in our paper.
Yeah, I would just say, hold those thoughts.
Yeah.
Let's have a conversation about that. We're not going to.
I know we're constrained with time here.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to belabor the point. I just thought I'd
Okay.
ask the question. Thank you.
All right, did we get everything added that people wanted added in terms of
I believe
summaries?
so. I am happy to go through the document quickly just to show the added sections.
That would probably be good. Let's go from the top one more time through, make sure people see their parts.
14, 16, just minor changes.
Well, you got to give people time to read.
I was just saying they were just minor changes.
Oh,
So that I'm
okay.
just scrolling, trying to find the new paragraphs. Okay, so paragraphs 30 and 31 were added.
I don't think it should say national allocations.
These were the 31 is sent from Forest.
So in paragraph 30, you just need to add an S after supports. The USA consistently supports.
Thank you. Moving to rationale, we added rationale for 4B as well as for CD&E as provided.
Okay.
We added a sentence about just expanding on the opposition from Canada as provided.
Okay.
And that concludes, and I believe if your co-chairs are comfortable, we can move to adopt the report.
Anything else people want to raise?
Can you go back to the language that, Forrest, did you add language? Because I wasn't able to see it I think the scrolling was too fast.
It's a paragraph. It got added as its own paragraph.
So in which one?
31.
Okay, if we could just leave the screen there for a sec so I can read it.
Under 31, I'm just looking at the first sentence, a comment from USA maintaining the status quo does not increase the probability. Forrest, would it capture it more if it said decrease does not decrease the probability? I don't know, maybe that's the same thing, but I would just.
Does not change. How about?
Yeah, thank you.
Better way to say it, thank you.
Robert?
Yeah, and with the probability of a smaller spawning biomass from 18 to 14%, it's not really a 4% decrease, it's actually a 20% increase in the risk.
Is this all right?
How about 4% change?
It is correct. It's percent points, not percent.
Yeah. It would be 22.2% or 4%. Can you use your mic, Chris?
Yeah, that's 4 percentage points, yeah.
4 percentage points decrease. Okay. Okay. Anything else people wanted a second pass through? Anything else people think we missed? Some motions ended up in a little bit different places from where they came up, so but I think they're all there. Okay, well, if people are good, then we need a motion to adopt.
Second.
Anybody want to speak to that motion? No. You're welcome to if you want to, but okay, let's just try this. Is there an objection to the motion to adopt these as the conference board report? Okay, nobody, seeing none, nobody. Garrett's motion is there. Yeah. Okay, seeing none, then I think it passes. And we will get it cleaned up. We'll send it out to all of you. I mean, just get out the stuff in the margin and send it out to you. And we will be presenting it in about half an hour. Rebecca.
Yeah, when is our opportunity to have discussion? So Robert raised a point about the best way to get what we would consider to be adequate rationale. I would like to talk about how the vote outcomes are recorded. So when it says a failed motion, I think that goes maybe to our terms of reference as well. How are votes even counted? How do you know when something's failed? But for the report, how is that recorded? I think there's some work to be done there. And you indicated we could have future, hold comments. When can that, or when will that discussion occur?
Well, we've been through our terms of references a bunch of times and made changes and tried to deal with this issue, but always up for having, putting together a committee that goes through them again and suggests some changes, because I'm not happy with it either. I mean, I think we're following our terms of reference, but it's, messy. So Robert, Rebecca, if you want to go through and suggest some changes, we can share them with, the whole group, with whatever group wants to be involved in working on this, set up a small committee. I sort of leave it up to you to suggest a path forward.
Okay, I'm fine with a committee. I did just look at terms of reference. It's not clear to me that the way this is recorded is how it is in our terms of reference, but we don't have any time, so I'm fine with it for today. But I do think there's some opportunity there. So do you need a motion to form a committee? Is that appropriate? And then I make a motion, we form a committee to look at terms of reference.
That would be great. And then we'll just, if you make a motion and just suggest people who want to serve on the committee, notify the co-chairs.
So I'll make a motion that we form a committee to look at terms of reference. And that includes the minutes and the report, and that people who are interested can notify the co-chairs they want to be on the committee.
Did we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Okay. We're not formally in session. Well, we didn't end the session. We've wrapped up our report, but anyway, we'll just say we'll form that committee unless there's an objection. Let us know if you want to be part of it. How about, Rebecca, we make you chair and you can schedule a meeting and let people know. We'll let you know who puts their name in. Does that sound?
Yeah, I think fair enough since I suggested it. Thanks.
Okay, great. All right, then, sorry, Monica, go ahead. Yeah, then we need a motion to adjourn, right? Yes. Go ahead, Robert.
I make the motion to adjourn.
Moved and seconded. Any objection? Okay, you're done. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for staying focused through a long meeting.